Good evening to all of you. I, CS Swarnim Gupta, Sikasa Chairman, Indore Branch, welcome you all to this wonderful webinar on opportunities in data analytics for chartered accountants. I welcome the DAB Chairman Charanjot Singh Nanda sir, today's speaker MS Mehta sir and Keyur Doshi sir. Sir, before your keynote address, Nanda sir, I would like to just give a brief profile of Nanda sir. He is presently the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. He is also the chairman for Internal Audit Standards Board ICI Committee on Information Technology of South Asian Federation of Accountants. He is also the vice chairman for Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee. He has held various positions at Central Council from 2004 to 2016 and 19 to 22. He has a lot many of academic pursuits. He has contributed as guest speaker at Surrey, Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia chapter of ICAI. He has contributed guest faculty and program coordinator at various seminars and conferences organized by international bodies and NIRC, WIRC, CIRC, EIRC. I welcome you, sir. Can we have a keynote address from your side, sir?
Thanks a lot, Mr. Swarnim Gupta ji. C. Anand Jain, Chairman of Indore Branch. The two of the relevant speakers, Manmeet Singh Mehta ji from Saharanpur and Keyur Doshi, the Secretary of the Board, Amit Gupta, C. Amit Gupta, and all who have joined together to make this seminar, this webinar successful. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly honored to present the keynote address. I am very keen that DAB organizes programs which are for the benefit of membership at large. Ladies and gentlemen, the professional practices which were prevalent earlier, which we term as traditional practices, are dwindling. There is a deep and steep fall in the opportunities. And at the same time, opportunities in newer areas are exceedingly going well. Technology is one such area which provides us with three benefits. Benefit number one, in technology, the result is error-free. Benefit number two, when you use technology, you don't go for a sample, you take the entire base. I will tell you that your board, DAB, got a call from SEBI. The SEBI chairman gave a call to me. She was very keen that digital assurance be made. Look at the high thought she has. Look at her level of thought process. She said that everything which is in the balance sheet needs to be corroborated, verified from a third party. And you all will be happy to know that whatever is in the balance sheet and profit and loss account, except two things, everything is verifiable. One, depreciation, and other is employee benefits. For example, if you want to look into the fact that what is the turnover of the company, you go to the GST website. If you want to see the export obligations, DGFT. If you want to look at the employee strength, PF, ESIC. So largely listed companies, whatever you want, there are eyes get so many websites wherein you are able to draw and create value. So technology says that do everything. Don't base your report on a sample. And third thing, technology does not have vice. It will work anytime, whenever you want. And I want to tell you, because of this, the importance of chartered accountants have increased manifold. I remember Mr. Mehta in the younger days, when he started doing technology practice, people were not much convinced. And I will tell you one thing, if you come to my office, there is a pillar. It reads, when you start a job, you are insulted. When you achieve it for the first time, people doubt your integrity. And when you finally do it, people admire you. Today, people will say, the day I saw Mr. Mehta when he was in 10th, I could make that he'll be an technology icon. Only because he is successful. The entire profession has grown in technology. Earlier, people did not acknowledge our role into it. And I'm reminded of a couplet which says, देते ना थे जो जवाब उनके सलाम आने लगे, देते ना थे जो जवाब उनके सलाम आने लगे, वक्त बदला तो मेरे नीम के पेड़ पर आम आने लगे. Now it is the foray of chartered accountants, the entire financial groups. You call blockchains, you call artificial intelligence, you call money, machine learning, you speak of Internet of Things, you speak of data analytics, particularly because today's webinar is on data analytics. Don't go far into forensics. Come ahead little before giving the final report. If you want to have hands-on experience, go into data analytics. You have host of opportunities. And with two of the best speakers, Manmeet and Kyor Doshi, I am very confident that they will do total justice to the topic. And all of you will immensely benefit from it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have one very concerned view. This profession is for everyone. One who wants to put hard work, one who wants to assimilate new knowledge, learning, and one who wants to move ahead to perform will always have greener pastures to perform. So this is the best pasture which the board could give it to you. Before I conclude, I promise again that as a chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, I am at your beck and call. Whenever you call me, you will find me by your side. What may come, anything, what may happen, I will live up by you. The entire board will stand by you. Any area where you want to hold a seminar, any area where you want to get involved, please feel free to give a call to us. We are all there to serve you. I will not speak much because two of the very relevant speakers are there. Let us listen to their words of wisdom and go home enlightened, putting at rest all the doubts that may have arisen during the course of our professional practice related to technology. We'll have a question answer after that, session after that. So over to Mr. Swarnim Gupta for further proceedings. Mr. Gupta, the dice is all yours now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for such a powerful keynote address. And I think you got the attention of all the listeners when you drew that analogy of technology with the wife. So that was really wonderful, sir. Now moving forward, we have our first speaker, CA Manmeet Singh Mehta, sir. He has been into practice since 32 years into management consulting, professional audit and tax practice. He has the qualifications of FCA, CISA, CDPSE, CFE, DISA, and he has been continuously taking workshops and courses. He has a diverse work experience. I think it lists longs to 2-3 pages. So without taking further much ado, I'll hand over to Manmeet Singh, sir, for addressing the whole session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Swarnim. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And thank you, Nanda, sir, for this wonderful topic you have introduced. So friends, a very good evening to all of you. It is my privilege and I am thankful to dab under the leadership of CA Nanda ji and CA Dhyanivas Sharma ji for organizing these wonderful seminars and these workshops. And this is a topic which is very close to my heart, data analysis. Friends, I'll start just by sharing my screen with you. Just give me one moment. Is the PowerPoint visible?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So friends, Starbucks, a major coffee chain across the world, has got stores all across the world. And it uses data analysis for each of its operations, right from deciding its menu, deciding its offerings, to planning and even the locational presence, where the store should be located. Now they use the services of an organization called ESRI, which looks at which location would be appropriate. It based its location, its analysis on so many different factors. What is the populace, right? And what are the income levels? What do the people do? What are their income levels? Even the traffic, the flow of the traffic is taken into account when a location of a store is decided. What all competitors are present there? Even where is the nearest other Starbucks stores? So its data analysis helps it in locating the best stores. And we all know that Starbucks is a big major as far as various coffee chains are concerned. Friends, up north, Amrapali. Amrapali is a prominent builder, and it is accused of fraud involving siphoning out funds. The forensic audit report indicates that the amounts have been siphoned out to other group companies. And Supreme Court, uh, in a suit filed by one Mr. Amit Gupta, the Supreme Court said in its judgment, wrapped Noida Authority, Greater Noida Authority, the CFO has been jailed, and the Supreme Court also wrapped the auditors. It wanted some action against the auditors. Just have to think of it. If the funds have been, because so much funds which were the booking amounts which were taken by Amrapali were siphoned out to various companies, related companies. But what about AS 18? So had the auditor given all the details of all this siphoning out of funds or the payment of funds to these sister concerns in its report? And not only that, today, many of the forensic reports which are coming up, and especially, banks are going on for NPA audits. Most of these reports show that some amount has been siphoned out through some sister concerns and some related parties. But what about AS 18? Are there related party disclosures in AS 18? And if not there, then have the auditors commented on it? Now, all this is not possible without data analysis. For this, you need to analyze all the data, as Mr. Nanda said right at the start. Today, you cannot do anything without a data analysis, be it growth of the company, be it audit or assurance of a company. You can't do it without data analysis. Now, these related party transactions, if you look at, if not reported, now this could be an auditor's nightmare. And, again, a question mark on his integrity and everything. And he could lose his CP also. And some actions could again come against him. Why? Because a proper data analysis of all these related party transactions was not performed. If you look at the CARO provisions, so CARO provisions want us to comment on the internal audit and IFC, the internal financial controls of a company. They also want us to comment on fraud on or by the company. Friends, my plain and simple question is, can we comment on it without doing a data analysis? So data analysis is a core part. It is something which is very, very essential for any chartered accountant. And the topic or the theme for this whole thing was opportunities in data analytics for chartered accountants. So if I just say in plain and simple terms, opportunities in data analytics for chartered accountants are everywhere. Whether you think in terms of growth, like in case of Starbucks, in some more cases we'll be discussing. See, we have to be integral part of the business, I'll say. As Nanda sir said, the traditional opportunities are dwindling. And what he said is very, very right. If we look at our traditional opportunities, tax audit reducing, bank audits reducing, GST audits gone, tax again reducing. So point is, what do we do? Okay, so we have to think in terms of value addition of our clients. We have to think on how we can be partners to our clients, partners in the business. We have to think about their growth. And their growth, what we need to think about is how we can analyze data, how we can help them grow. And friends, I've always been a believer in one mantra: you give value, you get value. So if you give value addition to your clients, you get value. The second aspect is, even if you want to get into assurance, compliance aspects, You can't do it without data analysis. Without data analysis, you can't even write your audit reports. You can't even do any kind of compliance. Again, what it needs is some kind of data analysis which is required. So data analysis is the core thing that we have to go by. Now, even if you look at this report by World Economic Forum, and it says top 10 skills of 2025. At the top, what you'll find is again analytical thinking and innovation. Now, this is one area where we already excel. There is no doubt about it. We chartered accountants have been trained into analytical thinkings. But the only thing is somehow, we get bogged down by our traditional areas, which tries to limit us somehow. Now we have to break those shackles and we have to think that how through analytical thinking we could help our client grow. Once our client grows, we grow automatically. Okay. And even if you look at this, again, survey by World Economic Forum, and if we look at our traditional areas, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll clerks, accountants, and auditors, there is a decreasing demand. So probably down the line, the demand is decreasing. But what is going up is again data analysts and scientists, right? And big data. So all these things are increasing. Analysis is increasing. Our traditional areas are going down. Just try to think of today you got e-invoicing. Okay, somebody sells some goods to you, he makes an e-invoice, your accounting system can automatically capture it. Now, your accounting systems are today being linked to the bank. So bank does some entries, automatically get captured. So our traditional areas are getting automated. And with so much of AI coming, all these are bound to get automated. So where do we shine? We shine through analysis. We shine through providing those insights. Those are the areas we have to start looking for. As Deming said, in God we trust, all others bring data. So even for your assurance, you need to do data analysis. All your assurance has to be based on analysis of the underlying data. Now, friends, this session, the first part of the session, we'll be looking at what is data analysis, what is data analytics. We'll be looking at the data analytics process, how insights could help in making decisions, right? We'll be looking at exploratory data analysis versus confirmatory data analysis. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And visualizations are today the core of data analysis. So we'll be looking a bit about visualizations. And often our thought is tools are for big firms, big companies, large companies. No, friends, I'll tell you, tools are for everyone. How I'll be taking a lot of examples how using simple tools we can extract so much. Okay, the only thing is we need to be a bit innovative. Okay, so that analytic thing has to shine in us. How we want to analyze the data, what are the insights we want to commit. One thing, friends, I want to tell you, no tool can audit on your behalf. The only thing a tool can do is it can provide you with evidence, and that too pretty fast. Okay. The hero will always be you. Okay. Only you can provide the insights. Tools are only there to help you. Okay. So you could have unlimited tools, but insights are going to come from you. That is for sure. Now, friends, they say learning has got 3 stages. First, I don't know that I don't know. No, that is pure bliss. Okay, I don't know that I don't know. Second stage is I know that I don't know. Now that is, what is called a Socrates paradox. Okay, and third is I know that I know, and we can use it for growth, for learning, for leadership. Right? I believe all of you who are attending this kind of session would be at level 2 or level 3. And I'll keep it very simple and practical so that each one of us could go back with some takeaways which you can apply in your routine practice or which could help you in going forward into these areas. Well, this is one of my favorite videos. Just give me one moment. Well, this is one of my favorite videos, and just watch this small video. I hope the voice would be there. So friends, the message that you get is one is traditional way of doing things, the one we have been using. Another is, using technology, using the tools we'll be talking of. It is like bungee jumping, right? But what's important is you need to know bungee jumping, right? You need the skills, you need the tools. And then it is as simple as, finding this, right? That is where we need to excel. That is where data analysis comes into play. That is where data analysis could aid you in your growth and in providing much, much better assurance, better results, better compliances. So just to begin with, the data analysis is the process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data with a goal of discovering useful information, informing conclusions, and supporting decision making. A wonderful definition. Okay, so that is the core of data analysis, where you inspect, you cleanse, transform the data, and you could be using some models. I'll be talking of one or two models. And the basic idea is to get insights. Those insights you could use for some kind of decision making. Okay, a bit more of the basics. As you know, it's a much banded quotation these days. Information is the oil of 21st century, and analytics is the engine. So what that says is true, because today all your decisions have been to be based on data, right? So data becomes very, very important, right? Even in your assurance conclusions, your assertions, the assurance has to come based on some kind of data which you have analyzed, got insights based on which you are reporting your audit findings. And data analysis is nothing new. It has been used in ancient Egypt also. If you look at the pyramids, their structure, their angle, their ratios, everything is based on data analysis. So data analysis is nothing new. It has been used since centuries altogether. Now, as Carly said, the goal is to turn data into information into insights. So that is the thing, which we want to excel in. How to convert data into insights. Now, friends, data is something which is raw. Okay. Data is something which is raw. Data could be any facts or observations, which might not mean anything. Suppose I say 5. Now, 5 is data, but it doesn't mean anything. Is it 5 people or 5% or what 5? Okay. When you give the data some kind of a context, give it some kind of a format, it becomes meaningful to you. It becomes utilizable by you. Now, I say the GP rate of my company is 5%. Now, that 5 carries a format, the 5 carries a context, the profitability of company, and it is informing me about profitability of my company. And when you collect this information, you look at patterns within this information, and you store that information. You look at information, you look at patterns within information, you analyze that information, you store that information, which can be used, is called knowledge. Okay. So knowledge is what? It is stored information, stored, analyzed information. The storage could be here, the storage could be here. That is why, what do you call them? The knowledge banks. Okay. Microsoft has got a knowledge bank. McKinsey has got a knowledge bank. These knowledge banks are what? These are stored information, analyzed information, which can be used. And to use it, you add your insight. You add your insight, your experience. So if you add experience to knowledge, that becomes wisdom. Okay. Now, you have the information about the profitability of the company, and it is your experience which helps you use that knowledge. Morning you open Economic Times, there is a news item which says that China has got so many of COVID cases, the cargoes are being stopped. Now, your primary raw material is coming from China. Your experience will tell you that tomorrow, day after tomorrow, the consignments are going to stop. The supplies are going to exhaust. So think of another raw material, think of another product to manufacture. That is what your experience added to the knowledge gives you wisdom, insights. Now, friends, one thing is there, as Mr. Nanda said, forensic or assurance or anything, it all starts with data. Data is the root of it. Transactional data is the root of it. You analyze it, you could get different insights. Now, if you use the insights for the purpose of growth, the term used is business analytics. If the same kind of analysis and insight you use for checking of controls, so the term becomes assurance analytics. The same kind of data, when you analyze with the objective of finding some kind of fraud, you're doing some analysis and trying to find some kind of fraud, the term becomes forensic analytics. So point is, data is same, transactional data is same, which is analyzed. The objective could be different based on which different kind of terminology could be used. But one thing is sure, at the core is what? Analysis and insights. Now, friends, the process, any kind of analysis, when you start doing, it starts with collecting the data. Collecting the data could come from some external sources. They could be in some structured databases or maybe unstructured databases. From both these kind of databases, you'll be collecting the data. And the first step, let me tell you, and it's very painful process if you are into data analysis, is the cleaning process, right? Because you never get perfect data. Okay. Always what you get is some kind of messy data. I think so many of you could correlate. If you go for a bank audit or some kind of an audit, what you get is the data which is in some kind of an ASCII form or text form. And to get it into Excel, you have to perform some cleaning steps, maybe cleaning some spaces, changing some fonts, okay, splitting some data, or aggregating some data, collating with some other data. So these are the typical steps you do, and probably many of you could correlate that with the bank audit. In bank audit, you get the data, and then the data is some kind of a text file or ASCII file, and somehow you got to clean the data, okay, to make it usable. Okay, so after collecting the data, the first painful process, as I say, is cleaning the data. Okay, so once your data is cleaned, then you identify the patterns within it, right? Then you look at what is within the data. Okay, now this is the insight phase, right? First is the hindsight. Whatever you have collected, that is the hindsight. Okay, then when you look at the patterns, okay, this is the insight phase. Now you look at the patterns, you look at what is in there. After the insights comes the foresights, because now based on that, you can make predictions, what is really there. Okay, so this is hindsight, insight, and foresight, the three phases which are there within the data analysis. Okay. Now, like, there is a very interesting study by IASB, which is on the data analytics to be used for audit quality. That's a beautiful publication. Now, what it says is that data analysis is required at every stage of audit, right? From risk assessment to analytical procedures to substantive procedures to test and controls. At each and every stage, data analysis is critical, right? So I was in one session, and there we had a head of internal audit of one of the organizations. And he was telling me that in their organization, they take the existing results, existing numbers, okay, which is what? The hindsight, right? Which is the hindsight. They just analyze those numbers, and then based on that, they make predictions on the next period, right? Which is what? Foresight, right? So hindsight, insight, and foresight. So based on that, what they do is they predict the numbers for the next period. Okay. In the next period, they compare the actuals with their predicted numbers. And wherever there are large variances in their predicted numbers and the actual numbers, wherever the variances are large, they focus all their audit efforts there, the internal audit efforts there. So they are doing kind of risk assessment through the use of the data analysis. For this simple step, like where to audit, where to concentrate their audit efforts, they are using again something like data analysis, or the foresight, I'll say, of data analysis. Based on the existing results, they're getting insights, and then they are trying to predict what would be the numbers. If the numbers don't match, then audit it, review it. Okay. So data analysis, apart from growth, could be very useful in assurance also. Okay. So as Gartner says, the various phases are, first is called descriptive analysis. Descriptive analysis is what happened, right? It's more a question of what. Okay. Then comes diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analytics is, it happened, but why? Okay. Now, based on that comes the foresight. Based on that comes the foresight, predictive analytics, what will happen, and prescriptive analytics, how we can make it happen. So these are the various phases you could have within the data analytics, and you could be part of any of these phases or all of these phases. Okay. So if you are planning for growth for one of your clients, so these different phases could help you. Okay. And broadly, if you see, there are two kinds of data analysis. One is exploratory data analysis. Exploratory data analysis is more like, Sherlock Holmes, right? He's trying to visualize, he's trying to analyze, he's trying to summarize. So it is more about raising questions, why it has happened, how it has happened, right? And confirmatory is more about testing and variance analysis to see whether your assertions conform, whether the data is, helping you make your assertions or not. Okay, so it's more like settling questions. It's more like some judge, who is settling the questions which have been raised, right? So that is the broad difference between exploratory data analysis and confirmatory data analysis. Two terms probably you will be finding when you go on further with the data analysis. Okay, so exploratory is more about visualization, analysis, and summarization, whereas confirmatory is more about settling the questions. Okay, deciding what has already been there. It's more about decisions, right? So data analysis is about who, what, when, how, and why. But where you shine and where really you could be helpful is finding the why it has happened. And there's a very interesting book on business decisions, okay, by Priyanka Jain. So Priyanka Jain gives a Badir framework, okay, where she says most of the places data analysis is more like a, what do you call it, the blind man's sword, you just move it and could hit anywhere. But she says if you really want to have good decisions, then you have to use some kind of a framework. One of the frameworks she has brought in is Badir. Now Badir is, you have to have a business question first for which you want to analyze data and come up with some answers. Okay. The next phase is your analysis plan, right? And that analysis plan would be born out of the business question. What do you really want to do? Now, for your analysis plan and what is the question you want to answer, you'll be collecting the data. Okay. And after collecting the data, analyzing the data, you'll come with some insights based on which you'll be formulating your recommendations. So this is a very good framework which is being used by many organizations, okay, which is from data to decisions, right? So it's a very nice framework by Priyanka Jain. That's the name of the author, who has brought this book, and can be used by anybody who wants to get into these areas. So the steps to data analysis we talked of. First is you curate, you profile the data, whatever data you profile it, you analyze the data, investigate, and then document it. So this documentation phase is also very important. Whatever you have analyzed should be documented and would form part of your, assurance papers or your whole paperwork, which is there. Okay. Now, let me come up with some practical areas on how data analysis could help. Okay. But before that, let me talk of one more topic, which was part of the initial topic, that is visualization. Now, it says picture is worth 1,000 words. I'll give you some examples for this also. Okay. Picture is worth 1,000 words. In data analysis, today, visualization plays a very, very big role. That is why there are many tools which now focus on visualizations. Like you got Tableau, which has been taken over by Salesforce, or you could use a tool like Power BI. Now, Power BI is a wonderful tool for visualization, because visualization, as I said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Visualizations, something which could involve a lot of brain, you could do very simply, because we got a insight. We get insights very quickly when we can visualize something and we can see it. Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples, then probably you'll understand it better. And let me tell you, visualization is nothing new, right? Here, there's a beautiful diagram, which is a very old one, 1856. So this is a sunburst chart, made manually those days. That's a very old one, where they have tried to find the causes of mortality of the army in the east, by months and all that. So they have tried to do it. Okay. Or this diagram, which has come from England, where they tried to analyze the price of a quarter of wheat with the wages of labor by the week. So for the different weeks, they tried to analyze what was the price of wheat and what was the wages. So they tried to correlate that or make some trend line. I would say must have taken them, days to make this kind of a chart. Something which, when Mr. Kyur Doshi comes, and he'll be delving more into Excel, right? So probably you could do with just one single click, you could make these kind of beautiful charts, and these kind of correlations you could do very easily. Okay, Kyur would be discussing some wonderful case studies and some wonderful insights regarding business analytics with you. And he'll be taking it very practical way in Excel. Okay. So Excel I won't be taking much, but just a bit, just to show you the power of visualization. Okay. So I come up with one very simple case. So I had a client, whose products are sold throughout the year at approximately the same cost, at the same sales price rather. Okay, so his sale price is same throughout the year. So if you do some kind of a ratio analysis on max min analysis, so ideally, what should the ratio be, the maximum sales price and minimum sales price? So ideally, it should be 1, right? So you should be having, if you just take the maximum sale price and minimum sale price during the year, should ideally be 1. Okay, and because there was no volatility in the price of the products he was selling, so we wanted to do some analysis on the price he was selling. So we took the data, its entire data. This is in Excel. I'll just show you. So we took his entire data, the dates, the item sold, and the product price. We wanted to see, was it actually at 1. So we did a max min analysis, and what we found was that most of the cases it was 1, but in many cases it was not 1. Okay. Now for me, the cause of concern was wherever it was not 1, means the price was varying throughout the year. Okay. Now what I wanted to see was the prices at which same product was sold in different parts of the year. Okay. Now, if the different times of the year, if the prices are increasing, I got no worries because my revenue is increasing. But if it is decreasing, there is a cause of concern for me. Or if it is erratic, again a cause of concern for me. So what we did was, we using a simple pivot, we converted that data into a trend, okay, and I'll have to park it somewhere else. Park it here. Okay, so what we did was, we took the data, converted into a pivot, and based on the pivot, we created for each of the product what were the different prices sold throughout the year. So for product 10, the different sales invoices were like this one. Okay, and as you can see, it is 5.47 in each of these cases. Okay, but here if you look at it, is 4, then 3.5, then 3.8, then 3.8, then 3.5, 4.5, means it is varying now. Okay, now just try to think of it. If I am looking like this becomes very difficult. This is small data. I'm talking of the entire year, right? So becomes very, very difficult to understand this data. Okay. As I said, the power of visualization. So what we did was we just used a wonderful feature within Excel, which is called sparklines. Okay. Some of you could have used it. Okay. There's a beautiful feature within Excel, which is called sparklines. Okay. Sparklines is a kind of a graph within a single cell, right? Within a single cell, you could have the whole graph of the entire area which you want. Okay. So using a simple feature, what we did was we went to insert, and insert you got this line chart, which is a kind of a trend line, right? So this trend line, what I wanted was the trend line for the entire period. Okay. And so you see, it is static, means the price was same. But if I just copy it across, now you start seeing the trends. Okay. And if I take it across whole of the some products which are there, and the question is very simple, friends. Let me make it a bit bold, would be easier for you to see. Okay. Now something where readability could be an issue. You read it, you understand it. Your mind can't process the thing so fast. But when it is in the form of a graph, the processing becomes much easier. You can easily see the the price is constant throughout the year. But here, if you start seeing the price has come down, then gone up, then again come down, then again gone up, means it is varying now. The question is why varying? It should be same. If it is increasing, yes, fine. But if it is decreasing, a cause of concern for me. Okay. But if I look at here, where a product, which is constantly selling for 62 rupees, and suddenly based on the graph, I see there is a dip. And this dip tells me that this has been sold for 32 rupees also. Now, question is it a fraud? Means there is some, the person who is invoicing, is he a accomplice of the customer? He is reduced the price, or there is some other issue or a mistake probably. Okay. And again, if you start seeing this, again, there is a dip in this case. Okay. Now, the product which was being sold for 24.43 rupees, and suddenly it is 2.44. So is it a mistake? Is it a mistake of decimal or something else? Okay. If it is increasing, then it is fine. But if it is decreasing or erratic, those are cause of concerns for me. Okay. From 3.5, it goes to 5, and then 3.25, and then 7.18. So very erratic. The whole thing is very erratic. Okay. Now, all these concerns we analyzed this data, we just filtered out all those cases which were, where the trend was erratic or it was a declining trend, and we sent it to our client for further analysis and for further investigation. Now, somehow in his case, he found that it was not a fraud. There was some problem with the person who was raising those invoices. Okay. And there was some problem in their ERP, so that the sales order was not being linked to the invoice price. Somehow that control which was there, that was not there, with the result that they were feeding the sales prices manually. So with the result, they'll just ask what is the price, and they'll put some wrong price. And sometimes, while feeding, they'll just, the decimal would be changed or something, right? So that was causing these problems. Now, my client, based on this, could recover lakhs of rupees, right? So wherever there was, missed through the debit and credit notes for these invoices he had raised, he could recover a lot of value. So my analysis was of value to him, right? As I said, you give value, you get value. So you got to think about value addition. The value addition he got was in terms of lakhs. So obviously you can very well understand we were adequately compensated, right? So point is, analysis, where you become a partner in growth. With analysis, you could become a partner in growth of your client. Once you become a partner of growth with your client, you can, say you become valuable to your client, right? The traditional things we have, like, will the client, what about competition? What about other things? But friends, if you add value, then your competition automatically goes away, right? Your competition automatically goes away. You are valued. So first thing is, you need to think of value for your client. Second is, I'm just illustrating how visualization could help you get better insights, right? The plain numbers won't mean much to you, but once converted into a line graph, or trend line, right, becomes very easy for you to decipher the trend and get insights which could help your client. So that was the first example we had. Now, as I said right at the start, we all think that tools is for big ones. No, tools is for everyone. Now here I've used what? A simple Excel. Okay. And I am pretty sure Mr. Doshi will be giving you many more cases where you could be using Excel for doing some kind of analysis. And Excel, in fact, is a beautiful tool you could use for analysis. And if you look at the whole lot of tools which are there, and you look at this latest 2022 Magic Quadrant of Gartner, then Microsoft tools are at the top. Okay, if you look at it, then Microsoft tools at the top. Okay, there are tools like Excel, like Power BI. They are very good for data analysis. And Power BI, which came in 2016 perhaps, and in 6 short years, today it has become one of the largest selling business analytical tool which is there. Okay. And Tableau, yes, is again a wonderful tool. Okay. But again, plain good old Excel is again a beautiful tool you can use. Okay. Now, if you look at if we just recollect the definition of data analytics, it talks of what? Modeling. Okay. There could be plenty of models you could use also for data analysis, which could help you a lot. I think so many of you would have seen this beautiful movie, the Da Vinci Code, which is based on a novel by Dan Brown. So many of you would have read the novel or probably seen the movie. And if you recollect the first scene, which is there in the movie, where in the beautiful Museum of Louvre, a person is lying dead, and just on top of it is written the couplet, "Oh draconian devil, oh lame saint." And just above it are written some numbers. And the protagonist in the movie, Robert Langdon, he just sees the numbers and he says, these are what? These are Fibonacci numbers. Friends, nature is full of numbers. Whether we realize or we don't realize, nature is full of numbers. Fibonacci numbers are where every number is added to the next number. Okay, so we got 0, 0 plus 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 and 1, 3, 3 and 2, 5, 5 and 3, 8, so on and so forth. So this whole series is called Fibonacci series. Okay, so all these are Fibonacci numbers. Okay, and the interesting thing is, Robert Turing has proved that the petals of the flowers are as per Fibonacci numbers, right? So for a flower, you could have 1 petal or 2 petals or 3 petals or 5 petals or 8 petals or 13 petals or 21 petals, which are again what? The Fibonacci numbers. Okay, so the point which I'm making is, nature is full of numbers. Okay, in natural numbers, you'll find some trend. If something is not meeting the trend, means what? There is some kind of an anomaly. That anomaly could be a fraud, that anomaly could be an error, that anomaly could be a mistake. Okay. Using some of these models, we could discover those anomalies. And with that, we could discover some errors, and we can stop some leakages also. Okay. I'll just give you one example of this kind of data analysis where you could be using some models, okay, mathematical models or forensic models. Okay. One of these models is called Benford law. Okay. Benford worked with GE way back in 1920s. Okay. And Benford says that nature numbers in natural populations have a certain trend. And Benford law has even been invoked in Iran election fraud. It was always felt that Iran election and numbers are cooked numbers. Okay, Professor Walter Mebane, with the help of Benford law, tried to prove that yes, the numbers have been cooked. Okay. What is this curious law which is called Benford's law? Probably some of you, if you have attended the FAFD sessions and all, would be knowing about this law. But for others, Benford law is not about amounts. It is about numbers and their position within a number, right? It's not about amounts. It is about digits and their placement, right? So there are different laws: first digit, second digit, first two digit, first three digits. So many of these. Okay. I've just taken this Bhav copy. So every day, Bombay Stock Exchange publishes a Bhav copy. I've just taken a random Bhav copy. This is on 3rd of January, just 2 days back. I just downloaded the Bhav copy. And if you look at the Bhav copy, then the first digit, the first digit of the turnover is 1. Now again, it is 1. Here it is 2. Here it is 5 and 4 and 8 and 6 and 4 and 4 and 1 and 1 and 1. Our traditional thinking is what? If we take any numbers, a large set of numbers, a natural population, let's say all the scripts on BSE, and we just think through a traditional thinking, what is the probability that the first digit would be a 1? Our traditional thinking says 1/9, right? Okay. Our traditional thinking says if we take a whole population, something like 4,000 scripts which are there on BSE, our traditional thinking says it should be what? 1/9 or 11.11 odd percent. Okay. So it should be something like this. That is our traditional thinking, right? We assume that the numbers have been distributed, normally, right? So that is a traditional thinking. But friends, Benford said, no, that is wrong. Okay. He said that the numbers, the frequency of various digits ranges from 30% to 4.6 odd percent. Means for the digit 1, it is as high as 30%. And for the digit 9, it is as low as 4.6%. He says it's not 11.1 odd percent. It ranges from 30% to 9%. Now, this kind of a law or this kind of a model is pretty much used in industry. Okay, where the actual population is varying from the one which has been predicted by Benford is a cause of concern for us. Okay. Let me take this example and explain it to you. Okay. So what I'm taking is, I'm just taking a Bhav copy. This is the Bhav copy of, whatever scripts are on the Bombay Stock Exchange. So I've just taken a Bhav copy for 3rd of January. Okay. Now I want to see the first digit frequencies, and first digit frequency I can find, I think so. Cure will be more on Excel, but you use a simple function like left to find the first digit. Okay. So if I use left.
Manvit sir, sorry to interrupt. If you want to take this, you may take, because I'm not taking Excel on a more side. So
Okay.
if you want to take it, please take it.
No,
Yes.
I'm just correlating this with, whatever you'll be taking.
No, sir, I won't be taking in Excel. So if
Okay.
you want to take
Sure,
it, you
sure.
please take it. Yeah.
Sure. I will do that. Okay. So what we get is the first digit would be a 1, right? Now, if we take all these first digits and we try to analyze, okay, so this time I'll be using a simple tool, okay, which is called Active Data. Now, Active Data is an audit tool. Okay, Active Data is an audit tool, which is an add-in which sits onto Excel, and you could do a lot, using Excel. Okay, something which could involve, a lot of formulas and functions you could do with a single click. So I go for a digital analysis. Okay, I want to do a Benford analysis based on this one, based on net turnover. Okay, and I want to do a first digit analysis. So as I said, traditional thinking says 11.1% each, right? But if I actually test it on the BSE data, on the first digit of net turnover, okay, so friends, it is that fast. Okay, and I take all these numbers and convert it into percentages just to make it easier to understand. Okay. So if you see, one is not 11.1%. Actual population is 30.35%, which is very close to what Benford had predicted, 30.10%. Okay. Digit 2 is 17.17%, which is again very close to 17.61%. Okay. And honestly, I've tried it multiple times on BSc data, and always, it has been proven very close to. The difference, if you look at, is all less than 1. So one thing is sure, Benford law works, right? So one thing is sure, Benford law works. Okay. So if you look at the graph, as I said, visualization becomes it easier to understand the data, right? So these numbers could take a bit of time to process, but the graph, you can easily see that it is matching the Benford proportions, right? So the point which I wish to make is this model works, right? This kind of analysis works. The only thing is how we can use it to our benefit. Okay. Now this shows that this model works. Yes, it works. But then let me take another example which is based on this. Now, how to use it actually? How to use this model actually? Okay, I've just taken some payment, some payments which have been made. This is all payments data of one of the firms. Okay. Now, if whatever Benford says is right, then even in payments, this is naturally occurring population. So we should have the same kind of trend, means one should be 30% odd and so on and so forth. Okay. So let us have a look at how this data is actually working, right? So I'll just go to digital analysis. Okay, I want to do a first digit digital analysis. The kind of thing we did in BSc. Same kind of thing I'm doing here. And what we find is that there are some differences, right? It is not exactly conforming. Actual population is 19%, whereas Benford says it is 30%. But if I try to look at this data again, it is cumbersome to see. But as I said, visualization, your friend, when you are analyzing the data, if you look at visualization, you can easily see that there are some spikes. There is a spike at 7. Okay. There is a huge spike at 7. Now 7, as per Benford, should be 5.8%, but actual population is something like 11.33%. Means there is a spike. Now, this is a cause for concern for you if you are an auditor, right? If you are an auditor, or if you're an internal auditor, okay, or a forensic auditor maybe, then this is a cause of concern for you now. Now you want to see why is this happening? Okay. Now, I just want to delve more into this. This is where tools come into play. Something which could take you ages. With tools, you could do it pretty fast. Okay. Now I go again to the data, and this time I'm making one more digital analysis. Okay. I want to delve deeper. I say, okay, now not first digit, first 2 digits. So Benford has got probabilities for first digit, second digit, first 2 digits, first 3 digits, so on and so forth, right? So now I want to do a test on first 2 digits. Okay. And done. Friends, that is the benefit of tools. Okay. Within what I'll say is probably a second or 2 seconds, you get it all done perfectly. Something which could have taken you ages, with the traditional Excel, right? Putting in formulas and everything. So here what you find is that there are differences again. And again, as I said, looking at all these numbers, tough. But looking at a graph, pretty easy, right? So what you find is there is a spike at 79. Now, just try to correlate. Earlier, there was a spike at 7. Now there is a spike at 79. Now, spike at 7 is because there is a spike at 79. Okay. And if I just look at these numbers which are there at 79, now 79, the actual is very, very high, 2.91 compared to Benford, it should have been 0.55, right? Now, let me do a drill down. Let me see if it works here, because sometimes, it just glitches. Okay. So now it has worked. So this is the drill down of all those figures which start with 79. Okay. So all these are 79 figures. And what do you see? What do you see? Most of these figures are 79,000 odd, 79,571, 79,237, 79,500, 79,826. And friends, if I just tell you this company has got a policy, this company has got a policy, if the payment is 80,000 or more, it has to be approved by senior manager. But the payments up to 80,000 can be done by the accountant himself. Now, does this data make any sense for you? Yes. Probably they are trying to hive off the payments underneath that limit of 80,000. Okay. Now, this is a cause of concern for me. And if you look at it, many of these authorizations have been done by this JCT. Okay. So we would have to further analyze how many transactions have been done by JCT and so on and so forth. Okay. But see, a simple model, a simple analysis has thrown up insights which normally just by going through whole of the data you can never get. I can tell you, you do whole of the payment analysis, you cannot get these kind of insights. The kind of insights you get just with one simple analysis. Friends, that is the power of data analysis. Okay. Now, if you're performing an assurance, you're performing a forensics or any kind of a thing, this is something you can do easily. And with these tools becomes so easy for you. So as I said, data analysis is not for, you could think of big firms or the big four or whatever. Data analysis for everyone. The only thing is you need to know how to use it. Okay. So you need to know bungee jumping, right? So this was like bungee jumping. Rather than going to traditional formulas and trying to find something, you just bungee jump and you get it. Okay. So that is how fast it is. That is, friends, the power of tools. Okay. So I think so now you're getting an idea about data analysis. Now, among the various tools you have, there are plenty of tools. I'll be just introducing a couple of more tools to you. Okay. One of the easiest tools I said most of you could use is Excel. Excel is a beautiful tool, but I call Excel a jugaad, It is more of a jugaad because Excel has not been made for data analysis. It's a tool which we are adapting. We are using it as a jugaad for audit. But I can tell you, you could do a pretty good audit, using Excel. Excel is a beautiful tool. You can use it anytime to do very good analysis. And on top of it, I generally call it Maruti Alto. Maruti Alto, economical, takes you from point A to B, doesn't cost much. And most of you already have Excel. The only thing is you need a bit of, a bit of innovation or insight or creativity to use Excel. Then I'll be talking of some more, tools with which you could do a beautiful analysis whenever you want assurance. Okay, one of the tools you could use is MD audit tool. Okay, this is a beautiful tool if you want to audit. Okay, for SMEs, I'll say you can just use this tool very easily. Just give me a moment to log in. Now, this is a tool, which you can easily use for multiple clients. Okay, this is MDA tool. Okay, you could go to the site mdaudit.com and you could understand more about this tool. Now, the benefit of this tool is it can import data from Tally, Excel, Busy, and some other softwares, right? So if you're an SME and you're using something like Tally, I'll say a beautiful tool you can use. Okay. And it can simply latch on to the Tally and get the data for you, right? It is as simple as that. So once you import the data, okay, so you'll be getting all the vouchers, there are some automated checklists which are there, right? There are some automated checklists Okay, like cash payments, debtors with credit entries, debtors with no entries. Data analysis, friends. Data analysis, that too pretty fast. Just one click and this everything comes. Makes your insights much useful. Okay. And apart from that, you could use a lot of other analytical features like benefit analysis you could do. Okay. Or a simple thing like expense to sale ratio. Just try to think of what is the kind of insights you could get through this one. Okay. Now, expense to sale ratio. Now, if you just look at this company, so it is giving me a comparative analysis of 2 years with a simple click. With a simple click, it is giving me the analysis of the 2 years. What is the advertisement expenses? Okay. How much expense was last year compared to this year? Right. So wherever the variances are there, I could easily do it. And not only that, on top of that, if I want to do an expense analysis, okay, for each of these expenses, how much has been made through bank, how much has been cash. So if there is too much cash somewhere, I need to look at it. Why so much of cash expenses are there? All right. So the point which I'm making is these tools are there. The only thing is we have to look for them. We have to use them. Okay. Use data analysis for your work. Okay. Similarly, there are many other tools. Once you just search across, just Google it, friends, audit tools, and you'll be getting a host of audit tools which are there. These are some, which are very easy to use. And just think of the insights you could get and the quality of your reports, which will go up, once, because now, as Nanda sir said, it's not sampling you're doing, it's 100% audit you're doing, right? So this MDA tool is not doing a small thing, just a sample or something. It is doing a virtual 100% audit. So you're getting assurance on the entire data rather than some small portions or some sample of your data, right? So this is on entire population. Okay, because one thing is there, friends, clients' expectations are going up. That is for sure. Okay, I think so. Everybody would have, would be reading every other day. There is a news item which says this fraud has happened and CA is inside, right? So every other day you hear one or the other news. Okay, so stakeholders' expectations are increasing. So we have to deliver also to that to the same extent. Now, no longer are we expected to do some kind of a sample audit or something, right? They want 100% assurance, and it's only with data analysis you could do this kind of an assurance. Okay. Now, apart from these small tools, there are other tools also, like IDEA. IDEA is a wonderful audit tool which you could use for doing some kind of data analysis. And IDEA I've been using since last many years, and it has evolved a lot. Okay. And pretty honestly, you could do a lot of good analysis. And see, the downside with Excel is the total data which you can handle could only be up to 1 million, because that is the number of rows which are there in Excel. But if the data is exceeding that, then what to do? Okay. And now for that, and typically, today for any MSC or a smaller or even a medium-sized organization, the data is much beyond that. So you need some additional tools for doing some kind of data analysis. Okay. So IDEA, in fact, the name comes from interactive data extraction and analysis. So the name itself is, about data analysis. Okay. So let me give you a small sampler on how you could use it. Okay.
Anmeet sir, sorry to interrupt. Just an announcement. Anyone who wants to ask any of the questions can just point it in the text box, and by the end of this session, we'll be asking a few of the questions.
Sure.
Okay, sir, you can continue, sir.
Oh, thank you. Now, this is the interface of IDEA software, okay, where you can import virtually any kind of data, right? And the benefit is there are, pre-built import assistant with which you can import XML data or text data or SAP audit information system data, or even from PDF, from ODBC, from Excel, from Access. So the benefit is any kind of a data you can, because practically when we are into situation, we could be getting data from multiple sources. So the benefit is you can import any kind of data. I'll do a very small analysis just to show you that how you could do an analysis. So I'm just importing a file. This is already in Excel. Okay, this is already in Excel, which I'm trying to import. And just one click, and it is showing me this file, and there are 2 sheets. Okay, so just one click and my data becomes an idea file. That is how easy it is to work with these kind of tools, right? Okay, with one click, it has given me the entire file. Okay, it's the same payment file which we talked of earlier. Okay, and it has got a lot of analytical capacities, like various kind of extractions you could do, exploration you could do, categorization you could do. But right now, I'm more focusing because of the limited time I have, right? I have till 7:30 to complete. So what I'll do is I'll just show you one feature where, it is giving you insights. It is giving you, what I'll say is, it is giving you analysis. It is giving you evidence. Okay. And then you can use that analysis to form your conclusions. Okay. Now this whole data, I say, okay, give me some visualizations, because one of the topics you have to deal with was visualizations. I said visualizations these days is the heart of data analysis. Okay. So I'm just saying you visualize something for me. You discover wherever you find some kind of trends and aberrations. Okay. Now see, it is doing it automatically. I'm not saying anything. Based on the trend, it is trying to, do it automatically. Okay. So it has given me some wonderful insights. So first insight is in invoice number, there is a blank, right? There is one blank in invoice number. And if I just look at it, look at this blank is for every India. So every India doesn't have an invoice number, and some payment has been made to every India. Okay. Okay. So I've got an insight. Now this is probably what is the reason we have to look at it. But I've got an anomaly where some payment has been made for which the invoice number has not been mentioned. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so some analysis it is doing on the fly. It is building visualizations on the fly on its own, based on its own understanding of the data. It is giving me some thoughts. But yes, I can modify them, I can change them, I can edit them. Okay, so it is giving me some overall summarization also. It is telling me about data. What is the total supplier payment? So this we can match with the entire, whether it is same or not. Okay. And what is the average value of supplier payments, right? What are the earliest date, last date? So we get to know whether we got the entire year data or not, right? And rich company check number net value. Okay, so check number net value doesn't mean much, but as I said, you can change it, right? If you don't want a check number, you could take something different, right? You could take probably vendor details. In vendor, are there any blanks? How many unique vendors are there? So 80 unique vendors are there. How many duplicate vendors are there? So this way, you could analyze any kind of data pretty fast. Okay. So in check number, are there any, how many values are there? Are there any number of duplicates in check value? Let's see, let me calculate. So there are no duplicates. Okay. So there are no zero items in check numbers. So this way, your whole analysis becomes pretty fast. Now, if I just go with this one, and as I said, this is something which IDEA has decided. I can change it, right? I can change it. Now, rather than a column chart, I could try to build a line chart. If I want a different kind of chart, yes, I can do it. Okay. Amounts. I don't want to stratify. So let me remove the stratification. Okay. And I could again, rather than amount, I could take invoice date. Okay. So what I'm getting is the invoice date, right? How many records are there? And I could go for sum also. What is my sales? And field is amount, right? See how easy it is to change, right? So now what I'm getting is each of these dates, what is my sales? And I am getting it graphically, friends, the visualization I am getting. And what I see is I can see across the whole year, are there any spikes? And what I see is that there is a huge spike on 30th of June. Now, my question is, why is there a spike on 30th of June, right? Why is it there on quarter end, right? So again, one outlier for me. And again, as I go across, I could see more outliers which are there. Again, on 22nd of September, again, one of the quarter ends, there is an outlier. Okay. So you could look at outliers. Now, this visualization I can save also, right? So what I've saved is this visualization. Now, again, this visualization also, if I want to change, I could just change it in terms of counts, right? So I want different kind of visualization. I'm again stratifying it in voice date, and then I could just take on count and just having a look at the data which is there. Let us see whether on June there is a count increase or some increase was there. There was a spike in some, but let's look. Okay, again, friends, if you look at 30th of June, there is a in count of records also there is a spike. So that means there is some correlation. More payments have been made on 30th of June, probably to meet some targets or whatever. Okay. Now, my dashboard is building. My whole dashboard is building relating to the analysis I'm doing. Let me try this also. Okay. So these are payments paid by different people who have authorized, right? So again, they have used a tree map. Okay. Then tree map group by authorizations, right? So it becomes very easy. See how easy it is. Just you just go there, and it is totally GUI based. You could just go there and just fiddle with it. And in case you want to see a different kind of visualization, you can simply fiddle on. Not much of issue there. Okay. And I'm using color by average. Okay. So you see my colors automatically change, right? So I see different colors. So my color is by average, and size is rather than count, I'll use a sum and sum of amount. Okay. Now see, I got a very different visualization, right? So the largest number of authorizations have been done by JCT. This is something which is visible from the size of the tree map, right? And again, the brighter the color, okay, more the average. Brighter the color, more the average. But so average done by JT is very, very high, right? So I'm getting a very different kind of visualization here. Okay, let me try one more. Just to give you an insight into visualization, how visualizations could help you. Okay. So rather than this, I'll again want to go for a tree map. Friends, tree maps are underutilized, but very, very powerful visualizations you could have. Okay. So again, I'm grouping by authorized by. Okay. And this time color by, or I'll group by vendor. Let's see, authorization we already had. Let's do a vendor. Okay. So these are various vendors which are there. Okay. And color by, let's go to average of amount, and size by sum of amount. So size is by, the sum of amount. So here the very, very large payments, 22 lakh rupees odd have been paid to ECMEVAC. Okay. But again, a very curious thing we see is this red flag. Okay. Where average is same as the sum of amount. So 1,90,000 is the payment made, and that is the average also. So the average is very, very high. Overall average, if you remember, was something like 34,000. But in this case of every, it is something like 1,90,000. Okay. And if you remember, every had one invoice which was a blank, which had no invoice number. So could mean what? Could be a fake payment. Could be something which is out of ordinary. So you see, it has taken us how much? Maybe 5-10 minutes. And the kind of visualizations we could build, the kind of insights we could do are phenomenal. Friends, that is the power of tools. Okay. Now, friends, that was just a small illustration of what idea could do, what is the power of audit tools. Okay. Sorry. Now, friends, as I said, the thing I started with was the case of Amrapali, okay, where a lot of payments had been made. So AS10 talks about what? It talks about payment to related parties. But honestly, if you most of the cases where there have been some kind of forensic audits done, many of the insolvency cases, if you look at the forensic audit reports of these insolvency cases, what you'll find is most of the ciphering of funds gets done through some kind of related parties, and many of them have not been commented on in the audit reports. Okay, now that as I said is a nightmare, could be a nightmare for auditors. Okay, and could spell some action against the auditors also, right? Some things we need to take care. And continuing with the topic of visualization, how data could be analyzed in terms of visualization. Normally, when you tell your client to give you a list of related parties, you got a big list of all the directors, common directors, and the other firms in which they are interested in. Then, the whole. So again, as I said, visualization, beautiful. So you could use a tool like Toffler. Okay. Now, Toffler is again a tool where you could see company information. But one of the good features I found within this tool was the kind of visualization it helps in building for related parties. Let's try a simple one. Let's see Reliance Limited. No, this is not Reliance India Limited. I'm talking of Reliance Limited. This is something seems to be different, right? So you could do an overview of Reliance Limited. Okay, what are the authorized capital and all, right? EBITDA and everything, right? And then who are the directors? So directors are some Mr. Ayer, Gaikwad, and others, right? And but the beauty is, the kind of link analysis you could do or data analysis you could do. Okay. What I want is to build a data analysis for Reliance India Limited, not Reliance India Limited. I'm talking of Reliance Limited. And the beauty is, if I just go there, it says expand. Now, what I get is a beautiful visualization. Who are the directors, the 3 directors of Reliance India Limited? Okay. But as soon as I expand, what I start building is the web of all these companies which is there, right? And again, the web, okay, C-Link Infra, okay, and Hari Singh Chauhan, again, expand, okay. So they are all somehow connected, interconnected, okay. And C-Link Infra, if I just expand C-Link Infra, I build further, okay. And each of these companies, if I go, I could build further into that, okay. So this way, what could happen is you could find the whole web of interconnected companies, the directors, okay. And then for those companies, you could look at the payments which have been made to them. Okay. Now, this kind of analysis, with this kind of, analysis becomes very easy for you. Okay. The payments which have been made now from a third party. Okay. As Mr. Nanda said at the start, that apart from 2 things, everything else can be verified from the third party. Now, if you are auditing any company, then that company, the related parties, you can easily go to a site like Toffler, or there are many others, Corpository, many other companies, which could give you these kind of services, right? So there, you could just take each of these and you can build the whole web which is there. Okay. And that web again, the payments made to all those companies, whether they have been reflected in the disclosure relating to AS16 by the company or not, should form part of your report. So again, what has helped you, friends, is data analysis. Okay, so this is just one example of how link analysis or data analysis could help you, in your overall reporting. Okay, could give you more confidence, could make your reporting more genuine, right? Now, friends, those were a few examples I had where I tried to tell you about the various aspects of data analysis and how using various tools you could help any company in two respects. One is assurance, other is growth. How you could be a partner in the growth of a company. And as I said, my mantra has been you give value, you get value, right? And this is something which you need to think more, because our traditional areas we are used to are dwindling, are going down. Okay, so we need to find new areas where we can excel, where we can provide some wonderful services. Okay. Now, the takeaways from this session is the demand for analysis is huge. Let me tell you, the demand is huge. If you look at World Economic Forum report, you look at the only thing is, we have been so long used to our tax audits and other audits that I'm sad to say we have become a bit complacent. Okay, so we need to perk ourselves up. Okay, so the demand is huge. Every firm, I have seen every firm needs some kind of data analytics. Every firm needs some insights with which it can grow. And once the firm grows, you automatically grow. Okay. And the kind of productivity you can increase with the use of analytics. Okay. The tools we saw like MDA, like Active Data, like others, we saw that something which could take ages otherwise. Okay, you could do within seconds or probably minutes. Okay, and data analysis is for everyone. It's not for some, as I said, big firms or huge firms or something. Okay, simple tools like Excel, like Active Data, like IDEA, like MDA we talked of. There are many more tools. Okay, and many more models you could use. Okay. One thing which Nanda sir also said it right at the start, and which I am also focusing is, if you want to be future relevant, you'll have to harness technology. That is for sure. There's a very interesting book by the name of The Future of Professions. It is by John Susskind, and where he says that professions will exist in the future, but not the way we are used to. Right? It will be very different. Okay, if we just go some 20 years back and today, you'll again find a lot of difference. Did we have Excel? Did we have these things 20 years back? Probably no. But today, day in and day out, we are using technology. Okay, for filing our income tax forms, we are using technology. For filing our ROC forms, we are using technology. Okay, but if you really want to be future relevant, if you really want to grow in the future, one thing you'll have to do is you'll have to harness technology. Okay, and use data analysis for efficient and effective operations. Okay, friends, one thing I tell you again and again is no tool can audit on your behalf. Tools are there only to analyze the data. The insight are yours. Okay, insight will depend on your experience, your skills, and how you do it. Okay, honestly, you are the hero, not the tool. Okay, and technology is not the end of everything. Okay, technology is not a solution to every challenge. Okay, a small video on this.
Emma. Huh? Emma. Emma.
Every day it's yet on my
Emma.
Oh, I'm
Emma.
So friends, technology is not a solution to every problem, right? Ultimately, you could use a lot of technology, but one thing is certain, you are the hero, right? So question is, do you want to differentiate yourself or do you want to be part of the crowd? I leave the decision to you. Decision is entirely yours. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much. I've finished in time. For any questions if you want. And thank you, all of you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there are a few questions.
Yeah, sure.
One of the question that has been pointed out by various members is that whether that MDA tool, audit tool, is free or what is the
No,
cost?
no, it's paid. It's paid. It's a paid tool.
It's a paid.
It's a paid tool. Cost is I don't know the exact one right now, but it is somewhere around 25,000 odd. But see, if you look at the time you save and if you look at the depth it can go and give you insights, I find it worth it.
Yeah, obviously, sir. Sir, there was another query that whether you can import .txt and .pdf in IDEA.
Yes. There is a text reader. There is a text report reader, which is there in IDEA. With the help of that, you can import text files, TXT files, as well as PDF files. PDF files, see, in PDF files, there are two kinds of files you'll find. One is scanned files, right? If it is a picture or image type of file, then you can't extract data out of that. But if there is a structured PDF file, then yes, out of that it can the data can be imported into that. And can also be converted into a database. Sometimes, data is not in a database. It is there in a PDF file, but what I'll say is not in a proper structured database, right? So IDEA even has got a facility where, using a bit of layering they called. So in different layers, if you just get the data, you can have the data in a database, proper database also.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think, as they say, whenever a question is asked whether you know all about the Excel, you should always say no, because whenever you see any of the videos on YouTube or any lectures from experts like you, it is always a kind of thing that you know very little about the Excel, and the kind of data you represented and the way you represented it was really remarkable, sir. Thanks a lot for a wonderful session, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Swarnim.
Now, I think we can move forward for the next session, which is scope of data. Since we have learned what data analytics is and how it is done, now we'll get to know more about the scope of how data analytics can be used for a practicing chartered accountant as well as a CA who is in industry. And for that, we have Keyur Arun Doshi, sir, with us. He has worked with Infosys Bangalore since 2016 and as a SAP FICO consultant. And later on, he started on his own practice with the name Keyur A. Doshi and Company. He is a mentor to many companies and associated with 4 CA audit firms. He is also a trainer by profession on audit analytics with Microsoft Excel for statutory audit, internal audit, and forensic detection for CMAs. He is also training services to study circles, many study circles. There are 10 plus study circles where he is giving trainings to. He is an All India ranker also in cost management accountancy in ICAMI. He is also an active member in JCI, GITO, JBN, SPB, Alumni, Toastmasters, and SGCCI. We welcome you, sir, and we are looking forward to a very good session from you.
Thank you so much, CA Swarnim J. Gupta. It was honored. It was an honor to have an introduction from your side. And hi to all the participants and to my mentor, or I can say that the person who has actually enlightened us with data analytics right before me was really so insightful. Sir, you did a wonderful job. It was covering so many different tools, and really a person may get excited if he knows all these things. He may be surely driven to use more and more data analytics. So I would like to start my session with this. I'll just share the screen. Okay, so friends, my topic is scope of data analytics for chartered accountants in industry and practice. So what happens is, when I was working with SAP Infosys Bangalore, as a chartered accountant, I was hired as an SAP FICO consultant. Now, what is my work? Okay, so the work or the scope, when we talk about the new generation chartered accountants, when we talk about what is the corporates expecting from us, may it be our boss, that is maybe our employment companies, or may it be our clients who are corporates in itself. So what they ask from us is not the traditional things. They don't ask for compliance. They don't ask for the things which is only merely for the assurance part. But they are now expecting from chartered accountants to be a frontier in technology as well. So when I was hired in Infosys as an SAP FICO consultant, I was supposed to design the SAP in a way that the vendor payments are being analyzed. So how does the process of the vendor payment goes, and what are the exceptions it happens, and what are the payments the process goes through, and how you can talk with the technology. Okay, how you will be able to understand that in the given scenarios, what the technology would be doing it, and how the data analysis can help us to come to such exceptional payments, to come to such duplicate vendor payments. So this was the major requirement from the corporate. So this comes a chartered accountant scope in the corporates to how to use data analytics in giving some value, in delivering some value to an organization. Why data analytics? As Manmit sir already mentioned, that data is a new oil, and he told that analytics is the combustion engine, and it is also the new oil refinery, friends, because as we know that oil refinery is something where we get of refined oil. So the oil, as Manmit sir told, it is just a vague data. You don't get an idea of it, that what it tries to tell you. The profitability is 5%. If we take an example, what Manmit sir shared, that 5% is not going to prove anything. But when you say that the GP rate was 5%, or for the year 2022-2023, then it becomes clear that what is the profitability. So the refinery data analytics gives you a meaningful information, gives you a real insight of the data which is being shared with you. So the data is new oil, and data analytics is the new oil refinery. The importance of data, we all know. Sir, audit kaise ho sakta hai? How does an audit happens? Sir, when the data for the audit comes, if the data does not come for an audit to a certain to a certain date, up to a certain date, then what we say, sir, it is not possible for us to do an audit. So right from the traditional areas, right from the any kind of compliance part, right from analytics, wherever we go, whatever we do, we always, as a chartered accountants, we always seek a data first. Then what happens? So after the data is received by you, are you really happy with the data that you receive from your clients? No, sir. Generally, the data does not come in the format which you want. Okay, it does not come at the ready format for the analysis. It does not come with the ready format for doing it for a compliance purpose. So you may come across some instances where you need to work on the data. So next comes is you have to cleanse the data. Okay, so we will be understanding that importance of a cleansed data. Cleansed data is not a concept, actually. It will never come in the structured format. 80 to 90% data, which is in the actual world, is in the unstructured format. Only 5 to 10% data you will be finding in a structured format. Majorly data will be in the data sets, and it won't be creating any context if you don't arrange it in the proper manner. So you should be knowing, as a data analyst, as the sir mentioned, you should be knowing how to deal with the data, how to gather the data, how to grind the data. Okay. So next is data-driven decision making. Actually, there are some of the clients which we are dealing with is in the business area growth, along with the traditional areas which generally chartered accountant does. Okay. So what we do is we do growth consulting. We charge clients for their growth basis. We don't charge it on the basis of the period. Okay, this is a monthly fee. We don't charge it that basis, but we charge them giving on the condition that if you grow by this percentage, then we will be charging you this much amount. May it be a way of charging it which helps the client to tell that, you are delivering us a value, then we will be able to give you the value itself. As the Manmit sir said, if you give value, you get a value. So that is how the work happens. So data-driven decision makings, every monthly management sits with the chartered accountant who is a virtual CFO, maybe, who is an internal auditor, maybe, and he does some analysis on the rates part, on the performance part, on the efficiency of the production, on the breakdown analysis. He does so many operations thereby and come to some kind of insights which he discusses with the management. Over the years, the experience accumulates and you come out with some insights which is helpful for the management to arrive at some decision. So such decision makings which are based on data makes your decision more efficient and the company can attain some value out of it. Next is, how big is the world of data? Okay, what is data explosion? What is happening in the data world? That is what we are going to share. That is what we are going to discuss today. Second, the data management value chain. Okay, so what is the value chain? How does the data comes from, from where it comes from? How does it get grinded? How does it delivers some insights, and how you can use it for the business growth purpose. The next is data warriors. As the scope is, as the topic is, scope of chartered accountants in the industry and practice. So we have to take some position in any organization or as a consultant. The positions can be so many. It's not that data analytics is one single post. Okay, you may be positioned, you may be placed at some different job. I can say that different post for which you have to do the data analytics. For that, for example, it is data engineers, data controllers, data scientists, data analysts, and strategic advisors. So, sir, what all these particular terms or what particular different post do it correlates, or what does this data engineers do? What do data controllers do? What do data analysts do? What do scientists do? And what do strategic advisors do? So that is what I'm going to cover in this particular session. And as I discussed with Manmit sir, actually I was going to take more on a part of Excel, but my senior partner recommended that it is more thoughtful if we can share such insights with them, because Excel nowadays, all the chartered accountants are using it very thoroughly. So next is challenges for chartered accountants. Why does a chartered accountant feels very rare in this field? Because so many chartered accountants talk to me like this way, that as a chartered accountant, we don't have a technical knowledge. We don't have a programming level knowledge. We don't understand the coding part. So, and we don't have a knowledge of tools in depth like IDEA and all. So how do we go about data analytics? So I have discussed those challenges also in the particular presentation. Know and understand the numerous opportunities available or numerous challenges that are offered for the young chartered accountants in the exciting world of data. That's what we have to see. Data explosion. As Manmit sir told, that Starbucks is using so much of data to take certain decisions. Okay, and we actually see each and every small businessman as well, small medium enterprises also using data for all their decision making. Sir, the time when we close the shop at 9:15, we get good customers after 9 o'clock. So last 15 minutes is actually very much helpful to earn this much extra amount of money. Okay, so let's decide the time of closing this shop at 9:15 rather than 9. So this is how you make certain decisions which helps you get good business. So I've mentioned some facts, okay, which helps us understand that what is the data explosion level that is happening. We read news online, log into YouTube for music, post update on FB, Insta, LinkedIn, and keep tweeting through the day. So this is creating a data. This data, when it is observed from the corporate angle, like for Facebook, for Insta, for LinkedIn, that is we call as a behavioral analytics. So what we do in behavioral analytics is that the users which are using this particular platforms, okay, users who are using YouTube, users who are using news channels online, they are what kind of trend, what kind of choices, what kind of trend is we can see in the choices of the people. लोगों को क्या अच्छा लगता है, what do they prefer to read, what do they prefer to listen, what do they prefer to post, what they prefer to update. Okay, what all comes from the data, whatever comes in our mind, we put it on WhatsApp status, we put it on the LinkedIn content, LinkedIn status. So what happens is this, that behavioral analytics can help certain corporates to understand what Keyur is thinking, what Manmit Singh sir is thinking. So what these different people thinks at what time, morning, afternoon, evening. what kind of choices they do, okay, what kind of traveling do they prefer. These all things are being collected. This all data is getting collected at some level, okay, and by the help of some certain tools and mechanisms, this gives information to the corporate suppliers, and which in turn increases the sales, and in turn helps predicting the future demand of the product. So this is whole fact about the data management or the data analytics, what happens at the corporate levels. Next is when the 6G will knock our mobile doors, maybe 2030 they are expecting. So now as we see 4G and 5G is already there. Many of us are actually operating their offices from their mobile phones only, as I understand. Many of us. So now we have all things. I always say to my clients that I want you to make, I want your company to be independent of place. Okay, wherever you are, you can operate your business. You're independent of a person. So if a person comes or if a person leaves the organization, your processes should not get affected. And the third is device. So nobody should be dependent on some particular devices. The data should be available across the cloud, across the systems. So if you are independent of the place, device, and the person, then you are the successful organization. So when all the data is on mobile, naturally, we will be doing business at the midnight of an hour as well. So what happens is the data getting generated at a very fast pace, at a very fast speed, which in turn gets a voluminous data, which we may use the term big data, because big data, as we understand, if we tell what is big data, there are 3 V's which are associated. Okay, first is velocity. So when there is a huge velocity of the transactions, as in one case of my client who is situated in Mumbai, what happened is that at particular 1 minute, okay, there were thousands of transactions getting placed across the world for that particular company. So what I term when I do analytics for that company is a big data, because the velocity is too high. At just in a 5 minutes, if I'm talking about something on a topic for 5 minutes, 1500 hours of new content gets uploaded on YouTube. Try to understand, there is 4 billion videos which are watched on YouTube every day. So what kind of behavior analytics the YouTube may be having with the help of such number of views? How many people are viewing just 1 minute of the video? How many people are going till the end of the video? Everything is actually coming out of from behavioral analytics is coming out from this particular huge data. Next is IoT. Maybe many of us have heard about this particular technology. It is very interesting because it the communication happens not from the person but from the device. Suppose I'm using a water filter and the water filter needs a change, needs to report it to the company that it needs a maintenance. Okay, so a user of the filter is not required to update the company that actually my filter needs a replacement or needs a maintenance. The filter will be having a sensor, and the sensor will be actually communicating it with the company that I am already done with the level of the filtration which needs a re-maintenance. So please come and do my maintenance. So that is how the devices communicate, and the huge data gets generated at a corporate level, at a company level, and the chartered accountants or any decision makers or any regularly those who are operating the company can get an idea of how many maintenance will be happening in a day at any location for our company. So this helps. Data analytics helps the operations to be very effective. A company's operations gets effective. A company's operations gets efficient. A company's operations are very much in a required manner that they don't waste a human resource time and they don't waste a human resource cost. So this is how this IoT is working. So we live in a data rich world, data available world. Sir, kuch bhi chahiye Google पे मिल जाएगा. जो data चाहिए, you will get it from export companies, port companies. So the data is too much for any company we are consulting. We always have a huge amount of data, huge amount of historical data from which we can do some data mining. What is data mining? I'm going to take it in the further slides. In 2020, friends, 40 zettabytes, 40 trillion gigabytes. Okay, so 40 trillion gigabytes was the actual data in 2020. And in that 2020, 90% data was created. So try to just understand digitally how fast the data is getting generated. And it is expected that every 2 years, the data will get doubled. So as in we are in 2022, 23, it is expected to have a digital data estimated to total 80 trillion GBs. So it is like too big data we are having. And if you know, then majorly companies have their own data. But after Google and after government, we are, as a chartered accountants, we are the people who deal with the huge data. We have so many clients who gives us a lot of data all the time for compliance, for analysis, for consulting. So at that instance, we may be needing so much of data analytics mechanism, data analytics knowledge, or the tools knowledge, which helps us to do an analysis further. Friends, the digital wave, the data wave, what we understand is, will chartered accountants surf through this particular stress of data digital wave, or will they swim very smoothly, or will they sink down? Okay, so it is on us, as Manmeet sir, when he finished the session, in his ending remarks, he told that, will you like to be differentiated? Okay, if you want to be different, if you want to be unique, then you have to adapt technology changes. So now next is data warriors. So I'm sure that all the participants here who are part of this particular program, they have made sure that they are very much keen to swim across this technology changes, to swim across this technology generation. Data warriors in the sense who all deal with data. Okay, so what I was positioned at Infosys earlier was data engineer and controller when I started my job there, okay, in 2016. But later on, they converted me. They have changed it to data analyst and data scientist. What is the difference between data engineer, data controller, data analyst, data engineer, data scientist? What was the different post or different designations mean to say? First is data engineer. सबसे पहले तो सही डेटा मेंटेन करने वाला कोई चाहिए. So what do I mean by this line? That first is you should have a proper mechanism where you make the data available. If the data is not available in the current context, in the required manner, in the required format, then it is not going to be helpful to a data analyst. So data analyst, when we talk in a practice sense, when we do a CA practice, then a data analyst does every work. He is a data engineer also. He is data controller also. He is data analyst also. He is data scientist also. If we are in practice. But if we are in an industry, if we are planning to be in industry for a long time, then it would never happen that you are the only person who is taking care of all these aspects. There will be some person who will be designated as a data engineer. Okay, what is data engineer? Can chartered accountants be a data engineers? Yes, chartered accountants can definitely be a data engineers. So what does a data engineer do? A data engineer is responsible for building and maintaining the infrastructure needed to store and quickly access the past data. A data engineer can be assigned to build data pipelines to get the latest sales. So what he does, in short, what he does is he makes the infrastructure, he makes the database. What we say, we earlier, if you have gone through FFD and DISA sessions, then you have seen that we generally address it as the database administrators. Okay, so what is the access to be given? What is how do we deal with the data? So data engineers and data controllers deal with that. Okay, so chartered accountants may be positioned as a data engineer or a data controller in a company. A data controller is responsible. Now, what is data controller? Data controller is responsible for entirely securitizing the data. So if the data is secured, if the data is protected, if the data is curated, if the access is properly given to all the people who needs data, that comes under a duty of data control. So data controller does the protection, curation, and sharing of the data, to whom it should be shared, how it should be shared, when it should be shared, when not to share. Everything happens from the data controller level. And he has to make sure that the accuracy and the source of data. So this is the technical part. I understand this is the technical part, but yes, today Infosys and TCS are actually hiring chartered accountants for such designations as well. They train the people for this particular role, and they give such roles to a chartered accountant. Why? Because they have a good business acumen as well. So as a chartered accountant, yes, we have a scope to be a data engineer and data controller, whereby some technical things needs to be learned, needs to be polished, and we can be helpful to a company. Next is data analyst. What does a data analyst do? A data analyst works with a variety of different teams within a company to answer business questions. So to answer business questions and mining insights, you may work on the marketing analytics 1 month, performing some statistical analysis to answer, like for example, correlation, regression. Okay, what is the trend analysis? Next, relevant business questions. Will we be able to sell the same product for the next 10 years? For next 15 years? What will be the trend? What will be the diminishing trend? What will be the growing trend for this particular product? And then visualizing very nicely, sir. Manmeet sir already showed us the how visualization can help us understand the exceptional outliers. Okay, if there is some outlier, the visualization helps so much. And I'm really thankful, even I learned that thing from sir, that the spark lines can really be so pivotal to any analysis. If you see this particular graph in a single cell, it is really going to work out. So there's this visualizing and communicating the results. The next month, you may help the CEO use find data to find reasons the company has grown the next. So in all, data analyst is a general term used for seeing the trend of a history. Okay, so that is what we say is that data analyst generally does a historical analysis, that is a descriptive analytics. Okay, he does not look in the future, but as a data scientist, data scientist looks into future. See how data scientist works. A data scientist typically builds a machine learning models. Okay, he designs some models whereby he can make accurate future predictions about the future based on the past data. Past data को देखते हुए future में क्या होगा, what will happen in future. That is what this particular data scientist does. They often have more freedom to pursue their own ideas and experiments. So what happens is that in this particular context, they just try to develop a business acumen. They try to make logics for this particular data, and they just comment it before management, and then management may tell that this is really practical or not. Okay, so if the data looks like that this trend is actually showing that once some new product is coming of our company, the another products are not getting affected by the sales of the new product, then can't we do one thing, that this is never a risk to a company to introduce a new product. So however the new product may be, it may be a failure or it may be a success, our existing sales is never going to go down. See, this is a very wild guess. Okay, it's not that it's really going to be always the same thing. But if the data scientist sees the past trend and he's given a freedom to think about it and actually help the management to come with some kind of decision making. So there is a difference between data analyst and data scientist. In this context, data analyst actually does an historical analysis, descriptive analytics. Okay, he also sees diagnostic analysis. Okay, he also sees why it happened. Okay, he just sees the past. Okay, that's it. He does not go more towards evolving as a data scientist. He does not go about looking at the trend and predicting the future, whereas the data scientist goes further. He sees the trend. If I'm asking you one question, that today what all the users of Facebook liked, what they did not like, what was their behavior. Okay, if they see, then the Facebook, the personnel sitting at the Facebook company is analyzing the behavior of the users, then he is actually doing just a data analysis. So it is a data analyst. Okay, but if someone is actually predicting the future of Facebook or the future of any social media tool, whether we will be able to sustain in the coming future, what kind of tools will be required in the future, what kind of different features will be useful in the Facebook in the future, then this is called as a data scientist. So there is a small difference, or we may say that is an actual difference between the data analyst and data scientist. The last is strategic advisor, a one who communicates well. After all the data is prepared, after all the visualizations are prepared, after all the insights are drawn, a person who does a strong storytelling with the company, with the client, he sits and discusses all the insights that he has received while doing the data analysis of the company, is a strategic advisor. That is also a very big scope of chartered accountants, because as a chartered accountant, we may not be good data controllers, because it is with data security, it is concerned with data security, it is concerned with some kind of technical learning, programming language, data controller, as we mentioned earlier, data engineer. So may it look technical to you as a chartered accountant, but as a strategic advisor, we are the right people, because the data analysis happens at a statistics level. Some statistician does it, okay, and some engineers does it, or any kind of people who are actually belonging to some science field. But a strategic advisor is something which a data strategic advisor, what he does is, he just collects all the visualization, he just collects all the data crunching, he just uses the data grinded completely by the technical people. And what he does is, what insights this particular data is actually giving it to him, and what he should convey to the management, what decisions should be taken into consideration for the company to grow ahead, is coming everything under, everything is, as I mentioned, MIS exports, we say, this all people comes under this head, that is strategic advisor. So as we have covered this particular thing, I'm sure that I'm going in a timely manner. Yes. So next is data management value chain. So what is data management value chain? As we mentioned, that first, data controllers protects the data and shares the data to the right people at the right time. Second, the data engineers collects the data. He cleans the data. Yes, data engineers cleans the data. Data analyst just does insights from the hindsight, as the sir mentioned, that hindsight, insight, and foresight. So this data analyst does this thing for any kind of data, that is descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. Everything, these particular topics are covered under hindsight, insight, and foresight by the data analyst and the scientist. So that is a measurement, modeling, and insight. So what is modeling? As I already mentioned, they model it of future predictions. Okay, the past data is given to the model, and model gives you the predictive figures. So that is a modeling which a data scientist does. And the last is data communication by the data strategic advisors. Types of business analytics. Okay, so I have generally focused more on business analytics. Okay, so business analytics generally gives, as a chartered accountant, we should not be only concerned with compliance, because when we give value to our clients, not as in a compliance, but as a growth consulting, then naturally we will be able to have a more command on the business, have a deep understanding of their business, and will be able to help them out in a better way. So that next thing is behavioral analytics, a subset of business analytics where we know that what the users are feeling, what the users are liking, what the users are not liking. In the times of elections, what the people will be more emotionally attached to, what would not make them more good, feel good, or what would make them feel good. So all these things are covered under behavioral analytics. So as a business consultant, if you are helping some company in growing some company, if you are helping some company in the growth, then you have to see the behavioral analytics. Is all the customers showing a happy or a satisfied pattern to the company? Or are the GRs increasing? Are the goods return increasing? Are the goods return increasing for the reason of the business inefficiency, or for the reason of the production not getting done in the proper manner? What are the actual behavioral reactions that we see from the customers is actually reflected in the figures of sales, in the figures of the GR. We can see it through that what the customers are feeling for our particular client. Next is financial service analytics. So these are all the analytics, whichever analytics I have written, I have taken it from the one of the DISA module. Okay, and what different kind of analytics, or what different kind of industries a chartered accountant is expected to do a business analytics of is, first is financial service analytics. You may have heard that what is the growth rate of the company annually compounding, what is all the statistics or the ratio analysis which we do for any company in a balance sheet. Okay, that what is the debt equity ratio. So all this particular finance related ratios or finance related decision making is done. So financial service analytics serves the purpose of it. Second is fraud analytics, as sir mentioned, or as we understand, whenever there is a point of data analytics, we always see that there is some, if there is a possibility of fraud, or if there is a possibility of any kind of forensic arrangement, then we use data analytics for it. why there was sudden spike in any amount. Okay, why was one time the sales rate was 2.44 only, as mentioned in this example. So suddenly the rate was 24, 24, 24. Suddenly it came 2.44. So how does it happen? So is it a fraud or is it an error? Okay, so it is an intentional mistake as a fraud, or it is an unintentional mistake that is an error. So next is marketing analytics, a very important part, because many times, friends, if I share you something very why chartered accountants does get paid so much, and or why IIM graduates are paid so much, why we feel that there is a second rank of us in getting an amount from any corporate. So I feel that we are not at the sales part. Any organization pays well when you are at a sales part. So if you are actually increasing their sales, you are actually giving the value addition, and you are not a cost center to the company, and the company is able to pay you well for that. So marketing analytics is something, as a chartered accountant, if you do their marketing analytics and come up with some of the marketing good ideas, or the marketing, how can you can save the cost of the marketing and giving them a better market by the decision. Okay, so if we stop doing marketing on Facebook and we go on marketing for Insta, then our reach will be exactly 22% more, which in turn will give 15% more sales to us, which in turn will increase our net profit by 9%, which in turn will give us this much profit. So the exact cost benefit analysis, that what new marketing cost is actually giving going to give net profit of, if it is derived, if you have made this particular circle, this marketing analytics is getting solved there. Next is pricing analytics. Sir, kya price pe kya janta jawab degi? If my price is increasing, what will be demand? If my price is decreasing, what will be demand? What will be the supply at some particular point of time? So as we have learned in 11th standard, demand, supply chain, and demand as a inverse relation with the price as a direct relation with the supply. So all those things comes under pricing analytics. So economics and business pricing and the analytics part comes here in the pricing analytics. Next is retail sales analytics. How does a retail counter works? What time it works? What type of customer it serves? So retail sales analytics is all the malls which you go. Okay, all the malls use particular this kind of analytics, that is retail sales analytics. Then risk and credit analytics. This is used by the bank. When we are very surprised when some kind of balance sheets and ratios we give, and the management asks us some certain questions. If you are making this kind of sales, then why you are not able to make this kind of sales? If you are getting this much good profit, then where is the necessity of you taking a working capital from us? So actually credit analytics, what we have not done for ourselves, their banks does it for us, because they have to lend us money. So this kind of analysis, how much a person should be trusted upon by the finance part, what will be the working capital, how much the amount is in the stake, and everything is taken into consideration while doing risk and credit analytics. Then talent analytics, human resources. How does who performs what in how much hours? Okay, if some person is doing this work for example, data entry, a person doing sales entries, if he is doing at the rate of 6 entries for 10 minutes, then another person, how many entries does he put? So every day, a dashboard of an HR manager is having the data of what is the work being done by the human resource in the organization per minute, per hour. So this will help a management, this will help an HR management to place the right people at the right places, so that the human resources are optimally utilized. Then telecom analytics. Telecom analytics is generally done by the telecom companies, where they see that what kind of users uses what kind of services, broadband services, what type of calls do they do, behavioral analytics, and they come up with some kind of schemes for us, that if you do this, the respective scheme for you will be this particular thing. So based on your usage, your schemes are designed, and on that way you can get a better deal, and company can also earn a better revenue out of you. So that is telecom analytics. Then transportation analytics, okay, logistics, supply chain management analysis. That if you are having an industry at or a factory at one place, and your branches or your suppliers or your customers are at different locations, then which plant will be best for the dispatch part, which plant will be having a least possible timing list for, as we having a revision, or we can say that we are actually in memory of our IPCC finals, CA IPCC finals, where we used to have the sums of transportation. Okay, so how to minimize the cost with transportation sums, transportation logics. So this is how this transportation analytics happens. That how the cost can be minimized, how the time for the travel from one place to another can be minimized. This everything comes, efficiency of production, efficiency of the transportation comes under transportation analytics. So what is the skills required? What are the different skills required to succeed in business analytics career? We say that we are chartered accountants, so we are very good with numbers. So friends, one thing is very sure, that if you are good with numbers, then you are good at analytics. So business analytics, one of the skill required to succeed in this career is quantitative skills. So if you have a good idea of numbers, if you are well informed or well analyzing person for numbers, if you see numbers, you get an idea of it, you get an idea of the picture, then you maybe sometimes visualization, out of visualization, what you know, you also now known from the numbers as well. The number speaks. Okay, so in this particular context, this is one good sign to, if you want to go ahead in the business analytics career. So if you are good at quantitative skills, if you understand the figures, if you listen to the figures, then business analytics is a good career for you. Second is inquisitiveness. If you are very curious about something, that अच्छा ऐसा है तो ऐसा होगा, अच्छा ऐसा है तो ऐसा होगा, अच्छा उसमें क्या था. So when you are curious about the data insights, that if the prices are increased, what is the impact on the quantities, what is the impact on the demand, what is the impact on the production quality, what is the impact on the behaviors of the users. So if you have so many questions in your mind, then naturally more insights will come from the data. So first is quantitative skills. Second is the inquisitiveness, curiousness to know what is actually residing in the data's trend. Next is interpretation skills. You need to know, after you are curious, this does not serve the purpose. After you are curious, you should be having the interpretation skills as well. When you get an answer of your question, that what is going to happen, then you should be having an interpretation skill as well also, that if these things are happening, then we should conclude that this is really the real picture. So conclusion skills or the interpretation skills from the data as a business analytics you should have. And one more thing I have not mentioned here, but a very in-depth knowledge of the business, because whatever you say, it becomes nonsense in the front of the management sometimes. Because when we say something merely based on the figures, that आपका ये sales अच्छा नहीं हो रहा है, आपका ये supplier अच्छे rates नहीं दे रहा है, ये rates में बहुत फर्क आ रहा है, so they are actually laughing. Okay, they are actually laughing. I have felt this when I started my career, because our insights are very immature. If we want to do business analytics, if we want to pass on the insights, we should be having an in-depth analysis of the business as well. Then understanding the tools and the techniques, Excel. So basically, as Manmit sir told, I also believe that there are so many tools in for the business analytics or business intelligence, or there are so many tools available in SAP and or like BI division and all. But I believe that if you know Excel in a detailed manner, if you know one tool in a much depth manner, then you will be able to sail the boat through. Because if you know one thing at its best level, then you will get so many answers. As even Swarnimji also told, that if someone asks you that what you know in Excel, then you should say that no, I don't know everything in Excel. So that is the right answer. So if you understand Excel in a best manner, the business analytics is a way to start with. Then next is detail oriented. Don't lose track of small items. Okay, sir, when you do business analytics, you should not ignore any part of the data. Each and every part of the data is important. As Manmit sir showed you through the dashboards at IDEA, there was some color boxes, okay, and there was one every AVERY, there was some vendor, and it was showing in red. So there was a small part in the entire data, okay, 100% data. As Nanda sir also told that you should always refer 100% data. Now, when you have a tool with you, why you should go for some sampling or a random sampling or a few quiet data? You should be always approaching 100% data. So if you take 100% of data and you see the even the 0.01% of the transaction that happens through, you will be able to track the every single thing. So you should not lose the track of small details, and you should have a larger picture also. You should have a larger picture in the mind, but you at the same point of time, you cannot lose track of the small details. So that is what this particular skills is required to succeed in business analytics career. Next is quantitative skills, as we have already covered. Next is common needs. Okay. So when I started my business analytics, my partner from Mumbai, who is into data analytics since 2002, I get a good guidance from him every now and then when I am confused. And what are the common needs? Generally, as a chartered accountant and as a SAP, as an Infoscian, as an ex-Infoscian, I always felt that Excel se to zyada SAP hi acha hai. I always felt that SAP is like this much well accepted, this and that. Excel is not reliable, SAP is reliable, XYZ. I used to think so much about it. And I used to always say that as a data analyst, will I be able to do a better work in the future? Because more of the analytics, whenever I see on YouTube or whenever I see a video, I always feel that it is too much of technical background is required. There should be knowledge of programming language. Always, whenever I see videos on YouTube, I always used to feel that there is a technical part attached to an analytics career. So, but when I am doing it currently, I don't feel like it. I really feel that you really need not be an engineer to start a career in business analytics. It's all okay if you are a functional guy. It's all okay if you are understanding business. It's all okay if you know some tools and techniques to use it in the Microsoft Excel. But you need not be an engineer or you need not be a statistician to start a career in business analytics. Yes, but when you go ahead, when the client expects you to give some anomalies, exceptions, outliers, okay, then at that point of time, some kind of analytics, some type of statistical measures like correlation, regression, trend analysis, time series, a little bit of statistical knowledge is also required. But it is a myth that you need to be an engineer to start an analytics career. The next is analytics is about working with the large data sets. Analytics is about working with large data sets. It's a myth. Why it's a myth? Because when we took data from the Excel to an idea, okay, we were able to get some ideas on the vendor payments. So it was not a bulk ready big data. It was not. But though it was short, it is our human mind limitations that we cannot focus on all the matters at the same point of time. We need not be able to focus on every different aspects, like what is the blank records, what was the earliest date, what was the latest date of the report, what was the average payment done to a vendor, what we saw in the idea just before this session. So we may not be able to focus on all the instances together. But large data set पे ही काम करो तभी data analytics जरूरी है, ऐसा नहीं है. Though small data it is, for example, if it is 100 sales only, but you won't be able to do it without data analytics. If you are having a data analytics an average, sum, maximum, minimum, max if, minimum if, so what is the deviation between max if and minimum if? So you can get it with the data analytics. So you may not be requiring or you may not be waiting for the larger data sets to come with the data analytics. If you start doing data analytics for a smaller data sets as well, then you will be able to get good insights. Then the next is programming knowledge is mandatory. No, it is not mandatory. It is definitely optional. If you know, then it's good. If you don't know, then it's all okay. So programming knowledge, if it is, because as I understand, if I talk about Excel, Manmeet sir will also agree that, sir, even in Excel, we have a macros which are getting recorded just by if you play the options available. So if you do some functions and you start a record macro and you end a macro, so you will be able to see that the actual macro code gets written in backend. Okay. So this is going to be the future. Every now and then, every user wouldn't be knowing, like if you use some expense manager tool, then you may not be having a debit credit knowledge, but the accounting gets done. Okay, if you are having an expense manager, if you put all the transactions, if you are not knowing debit credit, the balances of the cash, balances of the bank, and the accounts gets done. Okay, head-wise category expenses are available to you in a report format. So same way the future will be. It is not necessary that you are knowing the programming, then only you can program. If you are not knowing the program, then also program will program for you. This is the future as I see. And so the programming knowledge is only optional and not mandatory. If you like to learn, then it is good. If you don't like to learn, analytics mindset is just enough to do a data analytics. Then next is knowledge of data analytics is tools is mandatory. Sir, this is one of the myths, okay, as written in the module of this DISA, that knowledge of analytics tools is mandatory. It's not mandatory. I won't say that this is a myth. If it is not, if the knowledge of the tools is particularly not available with you, then in particular those instances, the business analytics, like as sir told, there was an active data and there was a digital analysis there. Okay, so if you would be not knowing what is digital analysis and what is Benford analysis at that point of time, you are not having the tools knowledge. But however, if you are knowing what is Benford saying and how you can apply percentages, how you can apply first digit law in an Excel, if you don't know the tool knowledge, if you don't know where is active data, if you don't know what is digital analysis, if you don't know how to run a Benford in just a matter of seconds, then it is also okay. Then it is also okay, because your Microsoft Excel is available with you and you know the Benford law. You can apply the logs, you can apply the formulas, and you can come up with the answers. So if you know the tool, then it is very good. You are knowing the direct shortcut of digital analysis. But if you are not knowing it, then the Excel is available to you. You can do the Benford analysis. Just it will take a larger amount of time. That's it. So it is not always necessary to have a full knowledge of the data analytics tool. The data analytics tool, if you are able to draw some conclusions from the data available with some more time, then it is also very much okay. Jobs are difficult to find, sir. वो तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. This is completely a myth, because as per the research, as even Manmit sir also mentioned, that it is a first job, it is a first career generating industry. That if you are into data science and data architecture, then you will be placed at the first. So the maximum jobs that are going to come in the next decade, okay, that is 2020 से 2030 के बीच में जो jobs generate होने वाली है, all those jobs उनमें सबसे ज्यादा पैमाने पे the highest amount of job creators will be this particular role, that is data science and data analyst. What are jobs for business analytics? Several different roles. Strategy consultants. What should be the strategy of the company? Business intelligence and performance management consultant. Advanced analytics and optimization consultants. Enterprise information and management consultants. So these are the several different posts or the roles that particular a business analytics, chartered accountants in business analytics are offered at a corporate level. Data mining. What is data mining? Data mining, we may have heard it many a times that data mining is required, but this is a technical term which we are not really sure of. First is, if you know exactly what you are searching, okay, if you know that what you are in this particular data set, what is the actual thing you are finding, then you should use SQL. Okay, structured query language. You have to mention the exact facts in the particular SQL. I have with some of my clients, I have used SQL to a certain extent, and SQL is really a best thing which a chartered accountant should learn from. This is really helpful. So SQL is something which we should use, we should learn. But if you are not sure of what exactly you are looking for, then you should do data mining. Okay, so data mining gives options to explore the things which are just vaguely you are clear of. Okay, if you are not very sure of what you want to find. Okay, for example, if I want to give you an example, I want to find a trend. Okay, so I'm not knowing the exact thing what is going to happen. Okay, so at that point of time, you will be doing a data mining for some discovery of patterns. Okay, so if you want to make sure that what is the patterns in the last 5 years, what is the trend in the last 5 years, so at that point of time, data mining is necessary. But if you know that the transaction lying at this particular blank records, for example, blank records you want to find, so and then SQL is very much important. So SQL and data mining is different things which is used based on your objective. Next is discovery of patterns. This data mining has particularly 3 types. Okay, first is discovery of patterns. Second is a predictive modeling. You predict the future. You predict the pattern based on the patterns of the past data. So if you have a past data, you see the trend and you apply a model and you know the future data. So that is a predictive modeling. And the last is link analysis, as Manvit sir mentioned in that companies. Okay, so accounting standard 18, related parties disclosures. So in that point of time, how many companies are directly or indirectly related to each other? What are the related parties? So that is a link analysis. It helps us do some pattern drawing. Okay, suspicious patterns if you want to draw, then we can use this data mining techniques. There are 4 different type of tasks in data mining: classify, cluster, regression, correlation, and association rule. I'm not taking into depth of this particular point, because if we do a data mining in a detailed manner, then this particular points needs to be understood. Components of data science. Data may be a structured or an unstructured data. As I said, unstructured data bhi bahut bada hota hai. It is not within your control that you, because analysis is going to only happen on a structured data. Unstructured data has to be made structured data first, and then after the analysis can be begun from there. Then the next is big data. As I already mentioned, 3 V's. Volume. Volume is in quantity of data. When there is a huge volume of data, huge number of records that you want to analyze, then the big data comes into picture. Second is variety. Type of data, different type of data. How many different type of data? For example, there are so many parameters to a sales. Sir, at what time it was sold, at what counter it was sold, at what rate it was sold, what different colors it was sold. So type of data, how much it is. So it is a sales data. So if there is a production data also, there is a GR data also, there is operations data also, there is a packing data as well. So when there is a different type of data available in a one data set, so that is called a variety of data. So again, as much as number of variety of data is available, the big data comes into picture. And the last is, as we already mentioned earlier, that is velocity. Okay, the speed at which the data is created. So if either of these 3 things or all these 3 things are present in some data, then it is a big data analytics which you have to approach for. Then the next is machine learning. Machine learning, supervised learning, non-supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Friends, how does the machine learn? Because we give them some instances. I would like to take one experience in front of you, that when I did work with Infosys, actually we were doing something on vendor payment area. And in those vendor payment areas, what was this particular tool was doing was, it was doing an OCR, optical character recognitions. Okay, so it was identifying the characters. And actually accounting was done merely on the basis of the OCR technology. So how does this technology work? How does an OCR understands that what is the invoice number, where is it written, where is the sign placed of an invoice, where is the GST code to be taken, tax code, which tax code to be taken, which location to be taken, which GST number. At that time point of time, GST was not applicable, but what that point of time VAT number was there. So what is the VAT number is in this particular case? So what is the payment terms, because payment terms are mentioned in the invoice. So how does the OCR technology understand that what is the payment terms is particular for this particular invoice? So machine learning is what I can relate it with this particular example, that we used to always tell that for any vendor, some 5 invoices should be given. And 5 invoices, we used to train the tool that where it has to see. Okay, for invoice number, always at the right hand side, at this space, at this distance, you will be finding an invoice number. You will be finding a payment terms for this particular vendor right besides the amount of the payment, right besides the rules of the payment. So the software, the utility started to learn machine learning. We started to learn that when this vendor comes, I have to take the payment terms from this. When this particular vendor comes, the total amount will be written exactly right besides this. So the technology learns from the actual instances, and then it is called a supervised learning. Non-supervised learning means it is just learning. We are not referring to the technology. Technology is just learning by itself. Whatever trends and patterns he feels, or it feels, it is learning from it. So this is how this machine learning is happening. Data science can be helpful to us in this particular manner. Then probability and statistics, as I said, that statistics has a very important role in data analytics. And last is programming languages. So if you are thorough with this particular, all the points, data, that is big data, machine learning, probability, statistics, and programming languages, these are all the components of a data science. Types of data analytics: descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, diagnostic analytics and prescriptive analytics. Friends, descriptive analytics मतलब जो हो गया वो क्या हुआ, मतलब what all happened, that is descriptive analytics. Predictive analytics, अगर ये हुआ तो फ्यूचर में क्या होगा, अगर ये हुआ तो फ्यूचर में क्या होगा. If we talk about future trends, future patterns, then it is predictive analytics. Diagnostic analytics, sir, why it happened so? Sir, why number of vaccination in the first run was having a success ratio of 85%? Why? Because okay, there are some certain villages where the awareness was not given. So when you come up with some why from the data, not from outside, when you come with a why answer, then that it is called a diagnostic analytics. Even Manvit sir also mentioned that why, when, how, the most important is why. So diagnostic analytics helps you to find a reason for some trend. If the trend is going up, why it is going? If the trend is going down, why is it going? So if you are able to find out the reason through the data that this particular customer's sale is reducing because in the last month, the GR from this particular customer was the highest. So if you're able to correlate this particular points from the data, the diagnostic analytics happen. And the last is prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics means the tool will tell you what you should do. When you say that I want to set a GP or an NP of this company at 11%, so what all expenses had to be adjusted? What all expenses to be adjusted? What are the different parameters which I should consider to make a GP or NP of this company to look like this figure? Okay, so at that point of time, prescriptive analytics, or if you can say solver, there are certain utilities in Excel which helps you give the figures. If you adhere to this particular figures, your final objective will be achieved. So that is prescriptive analytics. If I want to achieve 100% vaccination in the next 10 days, what all I should do? If the data is telling you, then it is called prescriptive analytics. Next is, as already this image was already, sir has taken these images, so I won't be going into depth of it. I'll be going to the challenges for CA. So what is the challenges for a chartered accountant? He or she is a functional professional. Sir, हम बहुत functional है, हम बहुत business को समझते हैं. We may not be knowing all the things technical available in the particular line. Who understands the laws, finance, business, commerce, but he may not be expert in statistics, mathematics, and IT programming. He may not be expert of it. So to evolve as a chartered accountant, to evolve as a data analyst, or to evolve as a data scientist, as per the need, we have to reskill ourselves. We have to learn some. I won't be telling that yes, as a chartered accountant, we know everything and we should not learn anything. Everything is already inside our head and let's start doing analytics. No, it is not so. We have to start with some of the learning first. So SQL is something which I feel that structured query language is something which you should start with to be a data analyst or to be a data engineer. Learn data security and sharing to be a data controller. We should be knowing all the sharing mechanisms of a data, how it is accessed by. As an internal auditor, we have to see the risk also associated with the data. So as in what kind of data is available to whom, as a data controller, you may be required. As an internal auditor, if you take a position of a data controller as well, then all the organization's data happens from your end only. And you are responsible, you are accountable to all the data sharings that happen from your organization. Then learn to work with unstructured data. Unstructured data, as I already mentioned, get a firm grip on the statistics and at least one data analysis tool like R, Python, and so on. See, it is, if you go as much as you go ahead, there is to be some kind of learning from your end as well. So many of the chartered accountants have met so many people who are actually learning Python language, who have used the COVID period in learning this R language, Python language, and they are really doing good with this particular knowledge. So if it is possible, then you should get a revision of the statistics, what was mean, what was deviation, what is standard deviation, what was variance. You should go through the statistics once, and then you should learn some of the data analytics tools as well, if it is possible. बाकी कुछ और कुछ सीखे ना सीखे, सिर्फ Microsoft Excel हम अच्छे से सीख जाएं. Microsoft Excel is something first master to be of. If you are doing nothing in this particular short, but if you are just using Microsoft Excel in the most decent fashion, as Manmeet sir mentioned, there are so many new things which we can learn from him, or we can learn from so many different trainers. It is really going to help us out with in any kind of analytics that we want to do. It may be an assurance analytics, or it may be a business growth analytics. It may be a forensic analysis. It can be anything. If you know this tool, Microsoft Excel, then you can be an Excel of all these things. Extraordinary communication skills naturally, because what you interpret, it has to be conveyed in that manner. If you interpret it something and if you are not able to convey, then because as a chartered accountant we are always sent to this MCS and all, GMCS we used to do. Why? Because we know everything but we don't know how to convey. So if you don't know how to convey, what to convey, when to convey, what is the exact element of the particular insight, then in that particular case also we will be failing. So as a chartered accountant, our one more challenge is to express our business views, to how do we interpret. Chalo, interpret mein to hum achhe hain. We are technically good in interpreting the business circumstances as well. But when it comes to conveying, when it comes to put it into presentation, when it comes to delivering a session, delivering a particular presentation or delivering a particular idea to the management, we may be finding some issues, we may be finding some challenges. So this is how some challenges for a chartered accountant we have. And if we know how to cope up with our challenges, then the world of opportunities do exist for us, certainly. Steps of data analysis. First is data ingestion. You have to extract the data. You have to cleanse it. Okay, you have to cleansing of the data is very, very painful activity. It is not that easy. कई बार हम analytics करने के लिए full energy के साथ we roll up our sleeves and we say that today I'll be analyzing the data into a great extent. But when we see the data, we feel so off. This is not possible because the data is not in the date is not in the date format. The numbers are not in the number format. The text is not in text format. Everything is so unstructured that we are not able to start the analytics with. So if you are expert of cleansing, then the analytics will be easier for you. The next is data analysis and the last is visualization. Visualization is the best thing, as a sir told, that if you want to excel in analytics, the way ahead is visualization, because that is what this actually food you are going to give it to the client. So the final food carries value. It is not that the raw material takes raw material is important. It is actually the final food is more important, because that is what the particular person is going to eat. So visualization is something which is very important. If you do all the data analysis and you present it in a table format, okay, so if you present it in a table format, it is not that worth. Sir, you may be finding in corporates that there are so many reports lying on the table and people don't refer it because it is just presented in the manner of tables. But if you do it with the visualization, the people like to see, people like to interpret, people like to, and people do it correctly. The interpretation will be correct if the visualization is gone through. So the next is, what are the tools of data analysis? There may be several tools. As a chartered accountant, let's first focus on Excel. If we know Excel in a better manner, we can say, then we should go to the idea and the other tools. So first is Excel and then comes the other tools. Data visualization, Manmeet sir has already gone through this particular fundas. Then data analytics for chartered accountants. Sir, definitely chartered accountants need to know data analytics. Why? Because we are dealing with big data. We get a data of a client for a year. We have to, as a assurance consultant, we have to see that all the transactions, TDS transactions, all the TDS were properly calculated or not. Whether any GST was wrongly calculated, whether the wrong item was calculated with the wrong rate of GST. So when we come up with one question and we have to apply that question to a large data set of thousands and thousands of transactions, if we don't know data analytics, then what will happen? We will become the 30 years, 40 years senior chartered accountants. What I say is that we'll go back 30-40 years. Okay, why I am saying these words? Then if we don't know data analytics, then naturally what we will do is we will actually go through the random sampling. We will take some samples. We will refer some samples in itself. And then we'll come to the conclusion that based on the samples, we find out that the GST was not deviated and everything was fine. But if you are knowing data analytics, then 100% of data you can vouch for. And as Nanda sir said, and as the government is expecting us to do now, what the government is saying to us, that we need 100% assurance. Balance sheet should not give a fair view. It should give a true view of the accounts. Okay, it should be a correct view of accounts. Okay, so when this government is actually going towards this standards, that we should give a opinion on the audit that the books are correct, okay, then we are required to check 100%. And so data analytics for chartered accountants is definitely required. At the last of this particular topic, now I'll come to the almost to the end of this particular last slide, but it is a little bit long. For 10 to 15 minutes, we are going to refer this slide. Extraction of data is a big task, as we already understood that extraction of data from somebody asked the question to Manmeet sir that whether we can extract data from text file or PDF file. Then first concern that comes to us is that, sir, the data is in this particular software, is this particular format. Can we take it to Excel or can we take it to IDEA for this particular task? So first task is extraction of data to a data analytics tool is a bigger task. First thing. Second thing, as an auditor, somebody asked my partner before some years that he was sharing it with me that Kevin, I was asked this question by some big corporate that we are having lots and lots of data and Excel is able to take only few number of records. Okay, so then how should we deal with this particular situation? Then what my senior partner told that you have a bridge, you can build it with some ASCII file, and that ASCII file will have the data, and you will be having all the simultaneous connections with Excel with some mechanisms. I'm not in depth sure of what it was, but this particular there has been some tricks which can be used if you are using Excel and you are dealing with a big data. Then also Microsoft Excel can be of help. So extraction of data is a big task. Live bridge has to be built between the data and the Excel. So all the data is taken to Excel and data analytics can be done. Second, as an auditor, duplication testing is next important task, because we see that duplicate vendor payments or duplicate masters is creating so much of noise in accounts. We see that there are so many ledgers which are in the negative amount. Why? Because there are two different ledgers made. In one ledger, the sales was done. In another ledger, the amount was received. So the ledgers are actually getting misused. Why? Because the duplicate, it was created duplicate. So duplicate ledger was created. So duplication testing in any audit becomes very much important. As in audit, if we talk about assurance analytics and audit analytics, then summarization through pivot tables. Pivot tables is that wonderful thing. I'm not going to cover it practically today. Me and Manmeet sir earlier discussed that I'll be able to take Excel practically with the team, with the participants here. But for some reasons, we have not covered it here. The summarization through pivot tables is very much important, because as a chartered accountant, all the transactions, if we see in a summarized format, if we see the totals, कई बार हमें totals को देख के पता चलता है कि ये कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पे data में कुछ mistake है. So summarization of any records through pivot tables is very much helpful in audit analytics. Like Pareto analysis, if I cover, you can select the samples with the help of Pareto analysis. Pareto analysis, many of us may be aware of it. The Wilfred Pareto told that 80% of the results come from 20% inputs. So 80% output comes from 20% inputs. So what about other 80% inputs? The other 80% inputs are producing only 20% outputs. So the samples which are having the highest value, highest number of 80%, for example, 20% of samples covering the 80% of turnover, okay, 20% of number of samples covering 80% of turnover. If you take those samples, then you will be able to cover most of the samples. Your population will be 80% covered, okay, because 80% sales is driven by 20% transactions only. So selection of a samples in doing audit analytics, you can use Wilfred Pareto as a rule, that is Pareto analysis, and Excel. It gives you a sample, and to your surprise, our Tally software was already giving us this particular utility of selecting samples, but unfortunately, many of us have not used this in any of our audit purpose. Tally has actually given us that Pareto analysis and the selection of samples feature. Next is your joint databases, appending databases, because whenever there is a database buying from any corporate, okay, any corporate, if they buy data, they buy data from several different ports, okay, and when they buy different ports data, they need to be appended somewhere to make an analysis at a one go. If you want to analyze at one go of the different sources of data, then appending of databases, joining of databases, and comparing of databases become very important. So that is one more thing which can be helpful for data analytics. Next is Benford's law. As sir has already covered, I'll cover 2-3 things here. First is if you think, as sir already mentioned, that in some case studies, first all the first digits, okay, first digit law, it is Benford law. So first digit starting with 1, all the numbers that start with 1 has a probability of 30%. That 30% transactions in a naturally occurring number set, there will be a 30% frequency of the numbers starting with 1. Okay, there will be 18% frequent, there will be 18% frequency of numbers starting with 2. There will be 12% frequency of starting numbers with 3. Okay, so this is already a stipulated percentages, all the on the basis of logarithms. So how did he knew about how does this took place? Okay, so if I talk about this Dr. Frank Benford, okay, this Benford law is named after this particular scientist name, this particular physicist name, that is Dr. Frank Benford. So Frank Benford, when he was referring to some logarithm book, okay, so logarithm book, what he observed was that some of the pages were more dirtier than the other pages. Okay, why some of the pages were more dirtier than the other pages? How it comes so? How is it possible? He was in a question mark. So here, what I told you, business analytics career starts when you have a inquisitiveness, when you have a curiousness to know something. So this late Dr. Frank Benford thought that how is it happening that some pages are more dirtier than the other? Why? Then he went depth into it. He tried some 20,000 number sets, 21,000 number sets. And then he came to a conclusion that generally those pages where the logarithm of numbers starting with 1 was written, those pages were more dirtier than the pages where the logarithm of the numbers starting with 9 it was. So 9 से start होने वाले जो भी numbers होंगे, for that logarithm book, वहां पे जाके किसी ने log देखा होगा, तो those instances will be only 5%. And जो भी numbers आ रहे हैं, जिसका logarithm निकालना है, okay, for those numbers for which logarithm has to be arrived at, if it is starting with 1, then that is a 6 times possibility than the number 9. So 9 से जितने number start होते होंगे, उससे 6 times probability है कि 6 times 1 से start होते होंगे. So from that he came down to this number series or Fibonacci number series, what we tell. So some natural occurring numbers have some kind of trend, have some kind of trend to follow. And if that trend is not followed, then you should understand that this particular data is manipulated. Sir, as the example, as Manmit sir also shared example, there is one more practical case study that in a restaurant, there was a vouchers, okay, and the vouchers were totaled with the amount, and the auditor went there. Auditor actually checked all these vouchers, and he came with a conclusion. He was knowing Benford law, okay. So what happened is, after knowing the Benford law, he told that the numbers, the vouchers which are having the totaling, okay, those totals, if it is starting with 1, then 30% of the vouchers shall have a number starting with 1. Okay, 18% it should be 2, 12% it should be 3, 9% it should be 4, 7% it should be 5. Okay, these are the percentages which the Benford has mentioned. So are those Benford numbers being complied when we see the vouchers starting with the first digit law? First digit law के हिसाब से first digit number का trend follow हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है? When he tried to see, then he observed that it was only 18%. So 1 was the number 1 as a first digit. Should be 30% number of transactions should be there. 30% number of transactions should start with 1. But here in this particular instance, only 18% transactions were there which started with 1 number. So he was more inquisitive. He was more number driven. So उसको विश्वास था कि बेनफोर्ड सर ने जो बोला है वो सही ही बोला होगा, उसमें डाउट नहीं करना है मुझे. So he trusted on Benford and he went for a further analysis. Then on it, the long it went, investigation went long, and then it was lastly concluded that the person who was sitting at the reception or at the billing counter, he used to make vouchers of those other transactions in the another software. So the another software, he was making so many transactions that the other one number से जो चालू होने वाले transactions थे, वो सारे transactions, उसने बहुत सारे transactions जो 12%, 13% जो number of records कम ले, वो सारे naturally occurring numbers, totaling of the vouchers, जो naturally occurring numbers, Fibonacci series, was not getting followed because some transactions were not entered in the main ERP. If some transactions would have been entered in the main system of receipts, main system of the transactions, then the actual 30% of frequency would have been arrived. So the investigation by the auditor got succeeded just on the basis that he was actually trusting the Banford law, that the transactions having one as their first digit shall be 30% in frequency, shall be 30% in the number. So this is how this particular logarithm pages and one of the case law which I wanted to mention, I have mentioned here. Then trend analysis, very important for any kind of analysis, that is data mining mein bahut kaam aata hai. It is helpful to us in data mining. And this way, seasonal data, if it is a seasonal data, for example, some months are having some kind of surges, some kind of spikes, okay, then maybe trend won't be that much helpful, but time series will be helpful. So you, based on the past trend, you make an extrapolation. हमें extrapolate, हमें school में जब थे तब हमने सीखा है. So how do you extrapolate the data? And then when you extrapolate, that is you simulate that in the future, these predictions are going to be happening. And when that particular future is arrived and you come up with the actual figures, you compare these actuals with the extrapolated numbers, that I expected that this particular number will jump to 50 in 2023, but it has actually jumped to 54, or it has jumped to 49 only. So you make a deviation analysis and then you come up with a more machine learning, that more supervised learning, that okay, this kind of trend is actually happening in the current scenario. So this is how this particular data analytics point and topics were covered. Thank you so much to all the organizers. Thank you to DAB, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. Thank you to Indore branch of CIRC of ICAI. Thank you to CA Nanda sir and those who, even my co-faculty, I thank him because I have learned so many things from him today. Thank you to Manmit sir, and thank you to today's moderator, and as well as the coordinator Shubham Sharma, and the tech guy Jai is also with us. So thank you so much. Thank you to all the participants who have patiently listened us for so good amount of time, and I'm sure that you would have got benefited, and we are very happy to share our thoughts with you. Thank you so much. With this, I conclude my session. Swarnim ji.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there are a few questions. Can we go ahead?
Sure.
So one of the questions is, sir, which are the best resources for learning Python and Power BI?
I can get back to you after researching on it. Maybe Manmit sir, if he knows, if he can guide us.
So your voice is not audible, Manmeet sir.
Is it audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So YouTube has got a lot of resources as far as Python is concerned. Okay. Coursera has got some wonderful courses, and there is one course which I remember was by Professor Charles Severance. He is from University of Michigan. So he used to teach a very good course on Coursera. I believe the course would still be there. So that is again one resource you could use. As rightly said by Kior and the inquisitiveness again of the participants which is there, Python is again something which is worth learning. And I can tell you really again, something which I was earlier, Excel took me a lot of time. Manually used to take months, for one of my clients. When I started using Excel, it used to take me around 4 or 5 hours. But the same thing when I converted into the Python script, now it is done in 1 minute. So something which used to take 1 month now is done in 1 minute. So that is the power of Python, and as said by Cure, really worth learning. So Python is, yes, worth learning.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir, we'll take a final question. Sir, is there any risk of data security using these tools? And if so, what care should we take?
See, as far as tools like IDEA and all these are concerned, these are well established in the market. They have been control tested very well. That is why, see, IDEA and ACL, all these results are even acceptable in the court of law. That is because they've gone through thorough testing, and these are international tools. Okay. And the other tools also, see, security is in your hands. Now, if you put some data in Excel, then the formulas and all and everything, so that is a security you have to take care. Otherwise, the scheme, the application works the same way. Okay. And many of these applications you would be using have been well control tested. Okay. They have been well accepted in that matter. So that is security. But yes, if any new application you get developed from any new developer and all, there the control testing either you have to do or you have to accept the risk.
Okay. Okay, sir. So I think we can conclude the session. Keyur sir, that was a really wonderful deliberation. And yeah, it is very rightly said by you. When the speaker before you is Manmeet Singh sir, then it sets a very high bar of expectations. And I think you have met the expectations, sir.
That was
Very
a wonderful
brilliant
deliberation
session,
by
Keyur sir.
Cure, I'll say.
And thanks a lot, Manmeet sir, for guiding us. We look for
Thank you,
forward
Manmeet
to
sir,
many
for
more sessions.
thank you, Manmeet sir, for helping me in the answer session as well.
No, it's okay. So, but
Okay,
you have
sir.
taken session very well. I'll say much that is required.
Okay, sir. Thank you.